Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to see you guys again. It has been quite a while. It's good to be back. I apologize for not being around for so long. We've been getting ready to move over here at the Shark Tank, not to a new channel or anything, but to a new house. I am Kaithral, also known as Haybuck. I am going to be one of your two co-hosts for the night, and we should have Chris joining the call with us in a moment. Chris, can you hear us?
Hi, everybody.
Holy crud, you're loud. Let me drop your volume a little bit.
Sorry.
No, I still had you at 140% from last time.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I got a new microphone, so tone me down.
Yeah, I'm dropping you to about 60. Cool. All right, so yeah, thanks for hopping on with us, Chris, and joining us for tonight.
I'm really excited. This should be fun. I love the FPL, and it'd be good to just talk some Pokemon for a little bit. Gonna be a good time.
Yeah, definitely. And I have to say, that's my biggest complaint about my normal stream nights is it feels like we don't have enough time to really get into a lot of what's been going on. So I'm really excited for this. So, for those of you in the chat who may not be aware, what we're doing tonight, normally when I do my weekly streams, we do a match review from the FPL before we get into the battles. So we haven't really been able to do that since I've been getting ready to move into my first house, and there's just been a lot of things going on, but I still want to give the FPL its due, so we're trying something new tonight. I'm calling this FPL Tonight. I almost called it Poke Center after Sports Center, but I was pretty sure Chris would kill me.
I like it, actually.
Okay, we'll workshop the name if this goes well. But yeah, so this is FPL Tonight, and we're going to do a season-long retrospective. We're going to kind of go over the highlights of what happened to get the 12 coaches you see on the screen in front of you from where they are to the playoffs. We're streaming in a brand new directory today. This is our first time in the podcasts and, what is the actual directory for this again? Talk shows and podcast directory. So we'll see how this goes. If you guys like it, we can start making this a regular feature. If you guys don't like it, we can go back to the old format. So just let us know. We're looking forward to the feedback. So, with that said, let me pull up my first new shiny layout here. Our first coach, and we're going to go in reverse seed order, that managed to make it to the playoffs this season was Kyler with the Geneva Glaceons. Now, this was a bit of an uphill fight. Chris, I believe you were the one who ran through all these matches before we got started tonight?
Yeah, so Kyler did have a little bit of an uphill fight, and Kyler drafted a team that it wasn't quite stall. It definitely rotated around stall sort of tactics, though, or on the latter you'd call it pseudo stall. Kyler brought a lot of mons that really kind of fit that mold. So Mega Aggron, the big fat thing that refuses to go down to anything. She brought Cresselia a lot, which is kind of a let's stay healthy, possible Calm Mind Sweeper, Trick Room option. She had Wish options on her team with Vaporeon, with Clefable to keep everything healthy, and also stall out some things like Vaporeon does, and then kind of added a couple of fast elements. The Aerodactyl was one. She brought a lot, 8 times throughout the regular season. Salazzle 6 times. Also, Salazzle kind of benefits that stall-esque kind of team because it does have that corrosion toxic that can help wear things down as matches go along. So her main role in this league so far has been the heavy use of the semi-stall, having Vaporeon and Clefable wish things up, keep Mega Aggron healthy because it's so hard to take the thing down. One big note on the season, I think, for Kyler is that Calm Mind Cresselia came a lot, and we're about to see it put in a lot of work here, unfortunately, at the expense of my co-hosts here. But this is a week 1 matchup against Haybuck, in which, if you just look at the screen here, it's easy to say it looks like Haybuck kind of has this match under control. And Haybuck, why don't you just go ahead and press play there, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, so this was definitely not one of my shining moments. So we start off with the fall of Vaporeon, so it's 1-5 here, and at this point, I'll admit, I felt like I had this one in the bag too. Like, I was sitting over here on the other side of the computer celebrating my first match of the season, winning. And then this happens. This kind of speaks for itself here.
Yeah. So first thing, I don't know why you switched out.
Um,
I'm not sure what speeds were or what's happening there, but you switched out.
yeah, I was a little overly worried about the energy ball on Crawdon at the current health levels, so I figured I'd just switch to something that could take it.
Right, so here we go. We get the start of the demise. Nothing Mantine has is going to kill or take Cresselia's substitute out. Even if that air slash had connected, it wasn't going to break the substitute. Cresselia's too tanky, and Mantine doesn't have enough special attack. And it starts. Cresselia starts calm minding up. Again, all this Mantine can do is just click Scalds, click air slashes, hope that at some point it's going to break. Spoiler, it's not.
Yeah, this just got worse and worse, and this was a failure of prep on my part. I did not bring anywhere near enough physical options on this team.
Yep. Well, and some speed things as well. I mean, I don't know what Cresselia's speed is like in comparison to Crawdon's, and plus I'm not. I don't have the calcs in front of me to say what a regular non-boosted energy ball does to Crawdon's. I know Crawdon is pretty not that tanky, but wow, yeah, some big things happening here as it gets huge.
Yeah,
It's not going to do anything. Crawdon's not going to do anything at this point.
yeah, yeah. That was me attempting to bait in. Yeah, that was me attempting to bait in the psychic so I could get the free switch into Crawdon, which worked.
Right.
The problem is, I was really hoping at that point I did outspeed because it was the only chance I had.
Yeah, and I do think that Cresselia with no investment is faster than Crawdon with no investment. So
Mm-hmm.
if you didn't put anything on it, at this point it's just salt in the wound here.
Yeah, exactly.
So and yeah, so we're not gonna let you live through this whole thing again. But and you know, talking about this Calm Mind Cresselia, it was the plus and the minus for Kyler. A lot of stuff throughout the season. She brought Calm Mind Cresselia to try and do what she did here, and a lot of times it didn't work. And I think because she went 5 and 5 and that one differential or that -1 differential, she could have had a couple more at least differential mons left if she didn't have to waste so many turns doing Calm Minds all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to be a win con that she tried to go for prematurely in a lot of her matches. And then I do want to just point out one more little thing here. If you have that second clip pulled up,
Yep.
week 4 against Hunt here.
Yep.
Now we have a situation where it looks like Kyler should be in the lead here, and just some spoilers here that Kyler does win this game, but kind of forget some things here. Previously in the game, Zoroark and the Mega Gardevoir had been in and out and taking damage, and now we see Kyler just kind of lose some train of thought here. At the end of the regular season for the FPL was so close. Differential played a massive part. So every time that we see a Mon go down in differential, it makes me wonder a little bit here. Here,
Yeah.
Hunt brings in the Mega Gardevoir here, and we see the Mega Gardevoir, before it takes rocks, has full health. It takes 12% from the rocks. We've seen throughout the match that Mega Gardevoir was not at full health. It had taken some damage, taken some rocks before. So Kyler kind of could play a little differently around it, knowing that this is indeed the Zoroark, not the Mega Gardevoir. She could go for something like a Stone Edge, even if she's not holding it, Rock Slide, Earthquake, because Zoroark is so flimsy, it's just going to go down immediately. And we're going to see here. Go ahead and click there.
Yep.
As we get started, makes the switch out to Aggron as a sack, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, when you consider that's actually the Zoroark, that made absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense here. Goes out to Clefable, and again, like, I don't know, Mega Gardevoir does not learn Water Pulse.
Right.
So there we go, that's number 2. And now she finally understands what's happening. Goes ahead, goes out to Aerodactyl. Nothing that Aerodactyl's going to do, or that Zoroark is going to do, is going to kill Aerodactyl and just take the kill. So what should have been at least a 4-0, I think, or a 3-0 if she does the strategy of sacking Mega Aggron, bringing in something to kill the Gardevoir, etc.
Yeah.
It just mindless throwing away Mons there, and she only wins it 1-0. So
Yeah.
it's things like that I think Kyler's a good player and had that stally team, but you need to keep in mind the things going on around you. It's imperative with Saul, and getting turns right every time. That maybe made her more of a lower seed rather than possibly reaching up into the higher ones.
Absolutely agreed. And you did mention that down at the bottom of the seed ranking, it was it was extremely tight. Every single differential point mattered. I'd just like to highlight that between Kyler and our 11th seed, it was 1 point differential. Our number 11 seed had 5-5 at 0. She had 5-5 at -1. So if she hadn't have made this mistake, she would have at least been the 11th seed. If she'd done a little bit better in 1 or 2 other matches as well, she could have gotten as high as the 10th seed. 9th seed was our first 6-4. So there was a huge range, and it was only 8 Pokemon, which can easily be made up inside of 2 matches. I actually just got a comment that you're still a little quiet. I think I might have dropped you a little too much, so I'm going to pull you back up here. Cool.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Rue, let me know if that sounds any better on Chris.
Hi, Rue. This is the test for you. Am I better? Question mark.
Yeah, that's going to take a second with the delay. But, I totally agree with everything that you said there. I mean, the other thing we need to consider, too, and sounds like it's good. Awesome. Well, I'm right next to you, Tawny.
No, I got you in my earbuds, too.
But yeah, the other thing to consider, too, is this is Kyler's first full season of any draft league. So all things considered, there were definitely a lot of mistakes, but I mean, for a first season, she made it into the playoffs her first time around. So I still definitely have to give kudos here for the effort.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, do you have any last thoughts that you wanted to go over, or should we move on to our next battler?
Yeah, I think we're about. Yeah, I think I'm good to go.
Cool. So our number 11 seed this season was actually our winner last season, the Atlanta Firehawks, once known as the Minnesota Mawwiles, coached by JDMI. So this one interested me quite a bit. I expected him to come significantly higher in the rankings. He did finish this out at a 5-5 with a perfect 0 differential. I have to say, Thanos would be proud, evenness in all things. So, now, JDMI's picks were relatively predictable down the board. 10 out of 10 times we saw Buzzwole come, we saw Rotom Wash come, we saw Mega Aerodactyl come, Sylveon came 8 out of 10. I'm not too surprised with that, considering that thing won him the season, last season.
MVP.
Yeah, MVP'd it. And then Diggersby, which I really wish had come more often, he might have seen a better season, only came 6 times. That Diggersby was absolutely clutch, which we're going to see here in a minute. I actually switched these two around, unfortunately. But this Diggersby, and again, this is a huge advantage at my expense. I told you didn't need to feel bad about the Kyler one. I already had one queued up. Yeah, so Diggersby is a huge thing here on this team, and it works really well with the team composition. So what we're going to see here is, again, I'm up on a 4-0 lead, and the last Pokemon on his team just comes back and takes it. It's a huge upset and a huge turnaround, and it gives him the match 1-0 when all is said and done. I mean, that thing has, crud, I can't remember the name of the ability.
Huge power.
Thank you. Yeah, that thing has huge power, which, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it just straight up boosts the attack stat. So that thing's a physical powerhouse even without setup. You basically get a setup sweeper here without having to spend the turn to do it. And it's pretty fast. I have a pretty slow team here. You can see what I had on my team. I had a Shuckle, a Crawdon. There wasn't really anything that could outspeed this thing. And he just walks through my team. So that Diggersby, in a lot of his matches that he did win, definitely was huge or played a part. At the very least, people had to prep around it, which took away options for other things. But we didn't see it as often as I'd wished we had. The other thing I really want to point out here, there was one of the Pokemon that really helped him out here that we didn't see anywhere near as much as should have, kind of like Diggersby, didn't even make the top 5, was Mew. Mew actually was one of the most versatile Pokemon on JDMI's team here. Week 2, a Colberberry Roost set won him that match. And I'm not sure if I have the correct turn week 3 here. Let me pull that up. I do not have the correct turn here. That's not even the correct match. Week 3. What? Okay, apparently my notes are incorrect. Yeah, and in week 3, he uses Bloom Doom off of Mew, Z Grass, to take out a Crocodile. Apparently it's not week 3, considering I pulled up the wrong, I think I pulled up the wrong link here. There were a lot of good options on that team, and he definitely did a good job here. If I'm not mistaken, the note I have here is just some pretty... Oh, I remember what this is. This is turn 7. So one thing that I did want to point out here, and this wound up mattering quite a bit for his differential, because again, like we showed with Kyler, there was a 1-point differential. The prediction here coming up turn 6 into turn 7 was huge and actually gave him the 11th seed over the 12th seed without any question. So he's been doing Thunderbolts on this Diancie for a while. So on our next turn, we're going to see that Awesomeness guy is going to go into... Awesomeness is going to go into Landorus Therian, expecting another Thunderbolt, since this thing's been doing it over and over again. This is really looking at move coverage across the board, and you can see right there, other than that Diancie and that Celesteela, Ice Beam does a lot more to the rest of the board here out of Porygon. So, by switching over to that, he manages to throw off momentum from our Season 1 champion, and this winds up being a 5-0 win for him because of that. So a lot of what I did see when I was reviewing these matches is a lot of really good predictions and a lot of really good reading the board and picking the best option for the most situations. And that was his strength in Season 2 as well. So.
Right, yeah. He's a good player who's an intuitive player too. I mean, there's a reason that he won Season 2 is that he had good teams, but like, yeah, that's a huge play there, going for the Ice Beam over the Thunderbolt when it makes so much sense to just go for the Thunderbolt and get the knockout. But wow, huge plays, get him back into it. It's kind of a JDMI hallmark, if you will, just being a little step ahead of your opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I pointed this one out was it was the most obvious example of what was just a theme we saw over the entire season on JDMI's team. It was just the most blatant example of that kind of intelligent pre-play and being one step ahead. Now, as a fun note, because I have a couple of little fun notes here with each of the teams that I reviewed. Week 9, we finally saw the return of Mittens. JDMI hadn't been nicknaming that thing for at least the early couple of matches in the league. We finally saw the return of Mittens in Week 9, and once again, it got a 6-0 Calm Mind sweep, which is exactly what happened to win him Season 2. So, just a little fun fact there. We didn't actually see the return of Queen Mittens until that late in the season.
I'm glad that she made a reappearance, though. What is Fun Pokemon League without Mitten?
At this point, yeah, really. Although if I'm remembering correctly, earlier, because just so you guys know, we are actually done with the first round of playoffs. After JDMI lost his first round, I think he said something to the tune of, "Good, I'm rid of this dumpster fire of a team. Let's get into the war." So, even if Mittens was there, apparently he couldn't make it work together. Just wasn't good. Wasn't confident with the team.
Sure.
Right. So I think we're back over to you with Blog.
Yeah. All right. So next up, our 10 seed is Blog, coach of the Winnipeg Volcaronas. Again, we're still at the bottom of our standings here. The Volcaronas went 5-5 again, like the previous two. This one with a +7 differential, so a little bit better. Interesting note here on Blog's season. He had a 5-1 start to the season, and it looked to be they were all convincing wins too. He looked to be like assured for the top spot in combination with myself and Mr. Carbonite, who we'll talk about later. And then goes on just this massive downhill struggle, losing his final 4 of the season. And I'm wondering if the reason that is because folks started to catch on to what he's doing. You see on your screen here that he does have the Tapu Koko here. Blag had the Koko Lucha thing. Very popular draft league format. If you draft Tapu Koko, odds are you're at least targeting Hawlucha somewhere with that Electric Seed synergy. So much so that they decided to bring Tapu Koko to 9 games, Hawlucha to 8, and only once each were they not paired with one another with the Electric Seed combination. So it wasn't a secret when you were preparing for him what he was going to be bringing. Also brought that Weavile 9 out of his 10 games, so he valued fast damage, and he brought a lot of Life Orb set as well, which allowed Weavile to switch its moves up when typically on the ladder you see Weavile run a Choice Band or even a Choice Scarf set. He didn't do that a lot of Life Orb kind of stuff. Some interesting notes here. Blastoise was his favorite defensive mon, not Mega Blastoise, standard Blastoise, which is really interesting to me because you don't really think of it as a defensive mon, not when other bigger Pokemon are around, but it worked for him. Biggest surprise with Blag's team is Mega Latios was on the team and only appeared in 4 games, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. Because Mega Latios is such a good Pokemon, and he only brought it to 4 games. I'm confused, but hey, whatever. So yeah, he brought that Kokolucha almost every week. Didn't bring the Mega Latios at all. Only 4 times. It didn't even have any kills, so that's not good. And we're going to kind of run in here with a match against Awesomeness Guy. Let's see, I believe this was week 10, so he's still fighting for playoff potential. He's doing well at this point, trying to get a win before he goes into the playoffs here. And this is one of the few times all season, the only time actually, where he brought Tapu Koko without Hawlucha, electing for those other 5 mons as well. And you can see some questionable mons here, like the Rabombi against a team that has Lando and Celesteela, so kind of the Webs Quiver Dance thing, it didn't really make sense. The Cinchino, whatever you call that mon, against the Landorus that has the Intimidate against Celesteela, who doesn't really care about it, and then the Magmortar, I could kind of see it for the Celesteela. All 3 of those mons, I think, you can make a good case for switching out for the Hawlucha, and we're going to see it here. If you want to just press play on like normal speed, hey Buck, just let it happen. We kind of see there's nothing really something to pin down. We see Cincino and Magmortar attempt to do things here in the late game. It doesn't do much. I mean, that's a I think it's a banded tail slap if I remember correctly, and it's doing nothing. Yeah, a little bit of bad luck with the tail slaps there. There's no doubt. But if I am Blag in this situation, I hate that I'm sitting at late game. Most of my opponent's mons are at 50% or lower, and I don't have the Hawlucha to just come in and click high jump kick. In Landorus's case, he could click ice punch. It just, I feel like it's such a good mon in every single matchup, and he chose not to bring it here, and it ends up costing him. I mean, Magmortar here. Magmortar, we see here at the end, we'll see Koko versus Kyurem. Kyurem shows up to be Scarfed. It's the only way that it outspeeds there. Scarf Kyurem is definitely outsped by an unburdened Hawlucha. Like, it's not close. So just way too many things happened there at the end that kind of denoted to me, wow, Hawlucha's like a much bigger deal, and I really wish that he had brought it. And many of his wins throughout the season were there because of the Koko-Lucha combo. It didn't make sense to me that in such an important game that decided seeding could have also potentially had bye. It caused some stuff up in buys. If Awesomeness lost this game, I don't think he would have gotten his bye. There's a lot of implications from not bringing them on that had been MVP so far in the season. I think it was a poor play. Potentially contributed him to being as low as he did. Overall, good season though. Halucha Coco is tough to beat, and he used it well for the most part, and ended up in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I actually ran into the same issue back in Season 1. I do just want to take a really quick second, though, to say to Kaya, thank you so much for that. I believe it was a 9-month resub. Yes, thank you so much for that 9-month resub. And Mr. Rue and Kaya, thank you both for the hosts. We love it when folks do that. It helps so much. No, I completely agree, and I can kind of see why Blog did it. I had the same problem in Season 1. I had a Coco Lucha combo, and what was happening is I had a really strong early season, and I was losing it in the late season, and I did the exact same thing in a critical match for seeding placement. I personally didn't bring either Coco or Lucha, because everyone had prepared for it so well, it had become so obvious what the build was. I just willing to throw anything at the wall to make it stick. And I'm pretty sure that's probably what he was doing here. Because like you said, it was the last week. It was an important match. And this is the only time we didn't see the combo together. So.
Yeah, and that's always the question, right? I mean, I was in a match a couple weeks ago in another league where I was terrified of the Celesteela and prepped everything for Celesteela. Then the opponent didn't bring it. And I lost because everything had been put towards beating Celesteela. I think that's probably what he was going for here, is hoping that Austin this guy was going to prep too hard for the Halucha. Difference here is I don't think there's over prep for Halucha on a team that has Landorus that just naturally kind of checks it, and the Celesteela that is a known protect set that Halucha is not able to beat. So maybe a little bit of overthinking on Black's part, but he may in the playoffs. So what can we get mad at him for?
No, absolutely. So, our next seed was number 9. I've taken to referring to them as the Stall Liege. This is Hexcat with the coaching the Sin City Spiritombs. They were 3rd in the Coco division. They were 6-4 at a +4 differential. So, their most brought mons, and this should tell you quite a bit about their team as I start rattling down this list, were Mega Sableye, Chansey, Toxapex, Skarmory, Zygarde 10%, and Tangrowth. Only one of these things is not a flat-out Stallmon.
Oh, and people are weeping everywhere for Pokemon when they hear that.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is the type of team, again, someone said this in the chat earlier today, this is the type of team that you see come out when you're OU laddering and you just immediately slap the forfeit button. There's no point in fighting it, you just don't want to be there, you just want to leave. So, the match I have up right here was Hexcat versus Hunter, who was running the Dallas Dolphins. Now, I hope that I got this turn right, because my brain was melting a little bit after watching, 10 stall matches or something like that. So, there was a huge switch here, and this kind of, again, I like to look at kind of the microcosm that shows off the big theme throughout the season here, and this goes into really good predictions on Hex's part. You almost have to be good at predicting if you're running a stall team like this. Because if you predict wrong and you get caught in the back foot, you switch into a haze, you baton pass into a haze, or you get the wish wrong and you switch into something that they take out, your entire team falls apart. Stall relies so heavily on synergy. And this is a great example of that if this is the one that I think it is. So, yes, this is it. So, we see here a switch out to the Lucario. Chansey goes for a protect, nothing. So, this was key. It gets the wish. So, what's this? Yes, a switch out to the Gligar here, just in time to soak up the Z fighting for 20%, taking that option off of the board, and functionally removing the threat to Chansey altogether. Because let's be honest, that was the largest threat to Chansey. It's a physical fighting stab mon. And that gives Hex a lot of momentum going into this so that they can continue to set up, continue to throw these Toxic Spikes. If I remember correctly, we eventually wound up seeing 2 Toxic Spikes on the board, and there really wasn't much that Hunt could do about it when all was said and done. So yeah, this is just a an example, a kind of a microcosm of that overall great decision making and those good predicts that we saw for those 6 matches that Hex won. I didn't pull up specifics on some of these, but one of the most common tactics I saw out of Hex, which is almost critical on a team like this, especially when you're bringing the mons that they were, Whirlwind was really common on Skarmory, specifically to drag the opponent's Pokemon through the hazards over and over again and just whittle them down. Now, that's not the greatest strategy when you have a Steel type coming in, but when you have 2 Toxic Spikes and 3 Spikes and a Stealth Rock on the board, you're going to rip through things like a Blacephalon or an Aerodactyl in 2 Whirlwinds. It turns Skarmory into an offensive-defensive mon. You don't have to invest EVs in offense in any way. So I did see some struggles here from Hex, though, and these are things that if they want to continue into the playoffs, these are things they're going to have to focus on. The biggest struggles I saw for Hex were definitely setup sweepers and wall breakers. The Pokemon that Hex have, if you can't get a Toxic off like we just saw here on the screen again, you can't get a burn off, it's really hard to break through a little thing called Substitute. So the opponent hits Substitute, you hit it and you do some damage, they set up Dragon Dance, Swords Dance, whatever it is, you're running a slow team. You're running a team that doesn't have very direct damage output. You can't break that sub, and they're setting up with offense, defense, whatever it is. Once they're set up, you have a problem. You can't stop them from breaking through you. Same thing with general wall breakers. Week 9 versus J-Paul, who we'll talk about a little bit later as well. He was an incredible coach this season. He just walked through Hex 6-0. Just because he put together a really good team of wall breakers designed specifically to punch through tanky mons like this. So the last match that I have here that I just kind of want to, I'm just going to let this play. This was the Week 10 match between Burrito Ben and Hexcat. Now, I put this match here not for a specific example of anything, but because this was one of the most important matches of the season and did something I haven't seen in the FPL before, or really any league. Now, both of these combatants are fighting for playoffs, period. Whoever wins is in the playoffs, whoever loses is not. It's a 5-5 versus a 4-6. And everyone who only had 4 wins was not eligible for the playoffs the way things shook out. This match, Hex didn't just win this match. As we'll see if we get far enough down, I mean, this is a stall match, there are quite a few turns here. But Hex actually won this match, didn't squeak it out. Hex won this match 6-0. So it took Hex from, I might make the playoffs, and thrust them all the way up to the 9th seed. And this is what we're talking about when we say differential matters. When we're talking about differential, I mean, you can see exactly how far you can jettison yourself. I mean, like I said, Hex almost didn't make it into the playoffs. This match was actually 2 days late, and Hex was ready to just take the forfeit loss and give it to Burrito. And because they played, Hex actually made it into the 9th seed, into a pretty cushy spot considering their record across the rest of the season. And the last real note, again, my fun fact here, Hex has a couple of records in the FPL here. The one that hits my heart the hardest, though, they broke the record for the longest game in FPL history. It ran 147 turns and also was the first for a mid-league forfeit.
Wow, that's a long game.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. It wound up being a 3-3 win for Hex because it was me. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I'd been playing for over an hour and a half, and Lexi was in the bedroom really, really upset with me for taking that long. And I'm just take the match. Just take the match.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, that's stall though, right? I mean, Hexcat drafts it knowing that it's going to incite frustration in opponents for not putting in all this prep throughout the week. I'm going to stop this, and then, well, maybe not, and it's going to take a long time to get there.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with stall is you have to be good at predicting, but you also have to be able to deal with that, because the point is you frustrate your opponent to the point that they make a mistake, and then you have your opening to go for it. Because you get pissed off, you get greedy, you go for something you really shouldn't, you leave yourself open, and that's where stall really gets in. They get under your skin, it's a psychological game. And Hex is...
Yeah, no, you go.
I was just going to say, and Hex is fantastic at that psychological game. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, and uses Sableye well, too. So the 2 ways to get past stall are hazards, right? So that they can't get in all the time, or getting boosts up. Hexcat fixes those issues with the Sableye that always threatens to bounce those hazards back, in addition to the Skarmory doing the defog thing. And then another mon that I think doesn't get talked about enough for a Hexcat that is a Hexcat staple is the Pyukumuku, with the unaware ability, meaning that Pyukumuku doesn't care if boosting happens on the other team. It just acts like it's not there. So while boosting is always the viable option against Stall, well, if Pyukumuku exists, you got to find a way around that as well. And Hexcat uses it extremely well this season in our final season of the VSL. It's a really good mon for making sure that one or two things don't just dragon dance up and win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to take the opportunity here to turn it back over to you for our number 8 seed, who I believe was Roxas of the Lazy Lightning.
Roxas, yeah. So Roxas was coach of the Lazy Lightning this year, 8 seed. So we have gone out of, we're at the top half of our wild cards here. Roxas finished 6-4 with a +7. Brought a very balanced team, and a lot of these mons are known for their balance. Not necessarily fast, not necessarily frail, not necessarily powerful, but does really well at a lot of things. And the top 2 mons that Roxas brought kind of indicated that, with Shaman and Megaladios both coming 9 times. Now, you can make the argument for or against Megaladios being a viable mon, or not viable, but a draftable mon in draft league format. I know several draft leagues that ban it, some allow it. It's really, really good. Stats in Pokemon are king, and Megaladios has a lot of stats, specifically in its defense and special defense, which really bode well, because Megaladios kind of gives you that offensive mon that gives you a little bit of breathing room if you get some predicts wrong, because it is so tanky, and outside of stab, physically or super effective moves, it really does well, and did well for Roxas throughout the season. Other mons that they brought that were really impactful: Zeraora was brought 7 times, that fast electric type. It doesn't need a lot of explanation, just hits things hard, has one of the craziest move pools in all of Pokemon. Mamoswine, just attack things. Alolan Muck, interesting mon, was brought 7 times. A lot of that Gluttony set, a couple of Salt Vests as well, but mostly that Gluttony set to be able to eat and recycle Iapapa and Figgy Berries, etc. And then the Primarina, kind of a wall breaker support kind of mon. Roxas brought a couple weird sets, and I'm just going to bring up a really short clip because I remember this one. Let's see, is this the... Oh, here we go. Yeah, let's talk about this first. I like that you brought this one up first. So we talked about Megaladios. It's huge, and we're going to see just how huge this thing is. Go ahead and press play.
Yep.
And we're going to watch Sylveon versus a dragon type. Sylveon should win, right? You would think. It would make a lot of sense that Sylveon, also known as Mittens, would win. We'll get Latias to +1 here, and Sylveon's going to throw off the super effective Pixelate Hyper Voice. That does...
No, this wasn't Pixelate because of his prep. Remember, he Worry Seeded that thing and made it lose the Pixelate.
That's right! Oh, that's weird. That's right, I totally forgotten about that. So I wonder if yeah, so the Worry Seed was a weird, but it worked because it was such a problem for the team. Sylveon was. That takes away its fairy typing. I had totally forgotten about that. But then that also plays into my second note with Roxas, is they weren't afraid to bring really odd sets if it worked. and it worked here, because Sylveon should be a complete counter to the Mega Latias, but it wasn't. And because of that, Mega Latias is now able to get up to +2 and just sweep the game. We're not going to make you watch the whole thing here. But yeah, definitely a huge mon. But on the other end, I don't know if you, this is the one.
Yeah.
This is against me. I'm Dracothonic. They're the Hannibal Hoots. I remember I just went back to this matchup, kind of reminiscing about all my games this year. And while Roxas has incredible sets like Worry Seed on Sylveon that worked out for them, then they have some pretty weird stuff here. So I'll let you go ahead and press play, and we're going to see Alolan Muck come in here, I believe, against the Steelix. Or, no, Latias here. Let's see, this is the right turn? Is this the right turn?
Did I get the wrong turn, or?
That's possible. I might have sent you the wrong turn. That's okay. So here's my Jirachi against the Zeraora. We're gonna wish some stuff, and in comes Steelix. Knockoff isn't gonna do anything. I might have sent you the wrong turn.
I might have also typed the wrong turn.
Oh, that happens.
Yeah, you gave me turn 8, so...
Oh, dang it. Alright. It was a turn where it was a Alolan Muck. This is my Steelix. And Alolan Muck goes for the Rock Polish against a Steelix with ground-type coverage.
Okay, I think we finally found it. I think it was turn 28.
Was that it? I thought it was real early in the
or,
match.
Or were we before that?
Yeah, I think it was like turn 6 or something.
Yeah, it was turn 6. That's okay.
There you go, 6/8.
There we go.
Here we go. Okay, so out comes Rotom, in comes Steelix, and pause right there. So
Whoops.
Muck against 6 Mons, including Rotom being one of them. We know Rotom decides to go for the Rock Polish. I think Rock Polish Muck is cool. Don't get me wrong. I think that's awesome. The concept of a really fast poison dark type just wrecking everything. But I can't imagine where it's used, right? And this was a really close... I ended up winning it pretty handily here. But this was a close match all the way through. And I feel like wasting turns by going for things like Rock Polish on Muck when there's a Steelix that takes absolutely everything. Even an Adamant Muck's Fire Punch against Steelix isn't going to do anything. Even a modest Muck's Fire Blast doesn't even 2-hit KO standard no special defense Steelix. It's things like that I think puts you on the back foot, because you could have just clicked the Fire Punch here. You could have, or Fire Blast, whatever it had. I know it showed Ice Punch later, but it did a little bit of damage to Rotom if I had stayed in. Did damage to Steelix. Just little things like that are what win you Pokemon games. Chip, and you know, just to spoil the match a bit here, Steelix put in a ton of work because it couldn't be killed by anything. Click the Fire Punch here without having to go for the speed boost because it doesn't really do anything. It would possibly win him the game, and Steelix goes on to do some cool stuff. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about Roxas here. Other than that, yeah, Mega Latias is big. It always will be big, and it got him into the playoffs. Also a big thing that I did want to mention, and as you kind of saw earlier in the match, Shaman is a problem. Because it's really tough to break Shaman with the Synthesis, with the Leech Seed, with the inability to be toxic because of that natural cure. All it has to do is just switch out. It is so tough to break. And they use it really well in combination as a defensive core, the Mega Latias. And also, Zeraora just fits this team really well. That fast Mon that can kind of get moves wherever to cover holes that it might have. Roxas ended up 6-4, which worked really well, got them into the playoffs, and they did well all season. Just wish that some of those really cool sets, like the Worry Seed that worked, also would have like extended throughout the cool sets like Rock Polish Muck actually doing it at the correct time. There's a difference between being ballsy and going for the wrong moves, in my opinion. So that's kind of what I was thinking about Roxas.
All right, awesome. So let's move on to our number 7 seed. You've definitely seen him here before. He's been on with us. It is Mike of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So Mike ended the season at 6-4 plus 8. Again, kids, differential matters. Differential matters a lot. So his most brought mons were Mega Gyarados, Caesar, Tentacruel, Thunderous Incarnate at 6, and Lycanroc Dusk at 5. No one of his mons actually appeared in all 10 games, and you actually see a step ladder there. Mega Gyarados 9, Scizor 8, Tentacruel 7. That Tentacruel is a callback to Season 1, where that thing won the most underrated mon. I don't know what it is about him and Tentacruel, but he really knows how to use that thing. It's terrifying when he puts it on the field. I've never seen anyone else do what he does with it. So, looking at his season overall, there was some serious heavy use of setup sweepers on his side. He had Komao, which didn't come as much as I would have expected, and he had Mega Gyarados, both of which are notorious setup sweepers with that Dragon Dance, and both of them get Substitute, both of them get Dragon Dance. We see the quick Dragon Dances, we see Substitute Dragon Dances across the board this entire season. Now, the match that I have pulled up for you here kind of gets into a little bit of that. So, what we see here is he's going to go into the Mega Gyarados after this turn. I put it one turn early, it looks like. So, why do I have that on really slow? Whoops. Okay, so yeah. The Serperior goes down, and then we have Mega Gyarados come in. This was huge because it lets him get that setup so he doesn't Mega Evolve immediately. He goes for the Earthquake, goes for the kill, knowing he can outspeed that thing out of the gate, and gets the +1 without having to get the Dragon Dance, then puts himself at +2 attack with the speed boost to actually push him through here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and I actually think I have to pull this up to make sure that I am not mistaken, submit, come on. Yeah, he goes on to win this 4-0 specifically because of that. Because once he had that +2, nothing could stop him. He knew he could survive that Thunderbolt and retaliate, so he got the Moxie hit, got the +1 on speed and the +2 attack, and then there was nothing that could stand in his way at that point. And we see a lot of things like this over the course of the season. Week 3, Gyarados set up sweeps for a 3-0. The only reason that Mega Gyarados doesn't go 6-0 on its own is because he gets taken out by a Sandstorm. And then he manages to capitalize on a flinch to get a free Dragon Dance in Week 6 and does the exact same thing once again. So he's capitalizing on those little opportunities to get that setup and get what he needs going. So the other match that I have here was from... Is this the right... No, that's... Oh, it keeps going back to the end of my tab list. So yeah, the other one I have here is from Week 7. And I wanted to use this as an example to kind of show off some of the critical predictions that he was making over the course of the season. He's a really seasoned battler. He just won the first season of the BFL, which is Chris's league. He's always placed in the playoffs all 3 seasons for the FPL. He did really well in the VSL as well, so we, just the two of us, have seen him do a lot. He's a really seasoned battler, and this really shines here. This is a turn 1 prediction, and it's something I wouldn't have caught. So, I'm going to go ahead and play this, but, so, the leadoff here, come on, normal speed. So he goes Donphin, which is a pretty typical leadoff. He knows what Chinchino's capable of, and switches out predicting that Bullet Seed, gets it right, and goes into Caesar here. Later on in the match, which we may or may not get to, he does a similar thing. He predicts a switch into Tapu Koko, and eliminates Tapu Koko first hit here. So he's able to break the Koko Lucha combo and winds up winning this match 3-0. At this level in the playoffs is where we start to see this too, and this is a theme that I've been seeing at the higher levels, 7 and above. You know, some of the better battlers really prioritize priority moves on their team. And it's not so much to get those quick kills in the middle of the match, but we start to see it here, but we see it a lot more the higher we go. Oh, yeah, this was the prediction. Just takes out that Tapu Koko right out of the gate. So those are the types of predictions I'm referring to. But we start to see this a little bit. It's for cleanup at the end. You don't think that when your opponent has 2 Pokemon at 1 or 2% that it's any kind of big deal. But we really do start to see at Mike's level here, you're using those moves to clean up just to prevent the off chance of the types of comebacks that I was dealing with both JDMI and Kyler. And that really kind of gets into that high-level play. He used that really well with this team. You've got the Bullet Punch out of Caesar. You've got, I don't remember, you got Accelerock out of Lycanroc there. Now, there are still some misplays here. I didn't pull this one up, but there were some greedy plays out of Mike that lost him what should have been winning matches. Week 5, he made a really greedy play going for a Rock Polish, or I can't remember what the move was, but it's a +2 speed on Necrozma when he could have easily just gotten a kill, and he winds up going in for an 0-3 loss. Thankfully for him, that wound up not mattering. The 0-3, he wasn't that close, and he wasn't that close in differential, but still, it was those kinds of plays. And the other thing he had a problem with was when he didn't manage to keep his setup sweepers on the board. Week 8, he lost Gyarados and Decidueye both really early on against Hex. Once that happened, he couldn't break through those walls, and he wound up going down again. If I'm not mistaken, that was actually that was an 0-5 loss just because he lost those 2 Pokemon. So there was a lot of heavy leaning on those 2 Pokemon, your setup sweepers, your Kuma-O, your Donphin. You were seeing a lot of the same thing there. But once those are gone, he's really low on options. And that's something he's going to have to focus to overcome if he wants to keep going in the playoffs here.
I do want to note, hey Buck, as I was watching the previous replay, not this one, but the one with Gyarados going for the crunch early and getting that Moxie boost, I want to note that +1 does not kill or +1 crunch does not kill the Raikou there, and so had the Moxie not happened, and then he clicks Dragon Dance in front of Raikou, lives a Thunderbolt, and goes for Crunch would not have killed, especially if Raikou has any sort of HP investment, and it's that sort of stuff that wins you games, because as we saw, Gyarados just won from there. Well, if Raikou was able to kill Gyarados and has 25% left, Raikou could clean up the game on the other side. So Mike knew his options. He had calced everything. He knew that Crunch was not going to kill unless he stayed in regular form, got the Moxie boost. It's that stuff that wins games, and that Mike is so good at. He knew before the game started what +1, what +2 Crunch did to kill his opponent's Raikou, and he's such a good player, and he beat me, and I'm still not over it, and that's okay.
Don't worry, we'll talk about that one a little bit later.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, hey, you did it to me with Kyler, I'm gonna do it to you with Mike.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, you want to talk about Luppy?
Let's talk about Matt.
Cool. So Matt Luppy is our next level number 6 seed. He coached the Seattle Magirnas, finished with the 7-3 record with a +20 differential, easily our highest so far. Luppy is in my opinion, one of the best teams that didn't win their division. He was in that stacked division, and really had I think, the scariest team in the FPL. And you see on your screen right now the Scolipede. You also see that Matt brought the Tapu Lele. And I think Matt said something as soon as we were finished drafting. He's like, guys, I'm going to tell you all my game plan for the rest of the season. How can I win with Lele this week? Oh, man. And he did it. It was almost every one of Matt's 7 wins had something to do with Lele. Now, interestingly enough, the one that we're showing you here is not going to do it. But, wow, huge stuff from Lele. It's obviously one of Broken Mons in Draft League format. Again, one of those like Megaladios that people are like, should we ban it? Should we not? It kind of sits on that fence of yes or no. With the Psychic Terrain, lack of opponents being able to do priority moves against it, the fact that what you would think would be the best counter in Pokemon is not able to counter it because Psychic Terrain, it's crazy. It's a really good mon. Other stuff that Luppy as he brings Cobalion, really good partner with Lele. The Rotom H to just Volt Switch around and have fun. He brought those 2 7 times apiece. The Scolipede 9 times because Speed Pass is a thing. It's a thing that does really well with Lele. And Baton Passing Speed Boost is just as a tale of old as time for the Scolipede. And then he did bring the Snorlax, which we're going to feature right here. He put on a clinic with Snorlax on how to beat Stall. So go ahead and press play there, Hey Buck. We're gonna watch some beautiful speed passing here. First Scolipede gets behind the sub. We touched on it earlier with Hexcat. How do you beat Stall? Get behind a sub and stay behind a sub. He passes that sub to the Snorlax. Snorlax obviously is not impacted by the Shadow Ball, meaning that it gets the free Belly Drum off to get full health behind a sub, and this thing is just going to wreck. Hexcat doesn't really have a ton of options here. Skarmory is going to be able to break the sub, great, but at what cost? Because now we have the fastest Snorlax of all time with the most attack, just going to obliterate everything.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't bring Snorlax to a ton of matches. He only brought it to 5. But it was kill leader for a long time just because it did this. 4 attack, or a plus 6 attack with +1 speed Snorlax against Stall is the most terrifying thing ever for someone like Hexcat who just does Stall. It's a trademark Luppy sort of thing, using what he has well. And that kind of was how his season went. He had a very common strategy. Get mons to +1 and win with them. We saw that with the Mega Sharpedo. He enjoyed using that, getting the Protect off. Speed Boost gets it up to +1. And unless you're Scarfed, not a lot of things are going to be able to outspeed a +1 Mega Sharpedo. Does a lot of stuff there. He did some passing with Scolipede, get to +1. And how many mons can you outspeed at +1 and do a lot of work? Big thing on Luppy, we talked about Tapu Lele. If you stop Lele, you stop Luppy. So he had 3 losses. One was the soccer dude, who we're not going to talk about ad nauseum. And then 2 other losses on the season. And both of those other losses, he lost because he lost Lele early. Whether it was a mon that was specifically designed to count Tapu Lele, or it was something that was a check to Tapu Lele that wasn't easily broken by the rest of his team. Luppy goes as Lele goes. That was so indicative. And as he's in the playoffs now, I think that's going to be a huge thing for his opponent, is how am I going to stop Tapu Lele? Is it worth taking some prep out toward other mons on Luppy's team in order to really lean into killing and checking that Lele early? But man, he's one of the best battlers I've ever seen. Has a stat sheet in a records book that backs that up, heading into the playoffs with what I think is the most broken Pokemon in Draft League format, and there's not much more to say about Luppy. Do you have anything else to add there?
The only thing I want to say is there's only been one game this entire season, just to your point, where he lost Tapu Lele and won the game. Tapu Lele went down 4 times. He has lost 3 games. So you are 100% right. If Lele goes, Matt goes. The other thing I want to say is not quite the most broken Pokemon in the Draft League format. His little logo there is my fault. We allowed Magearna Season 1. Not sure if you're aware of that. He got it. And he went in a 7-week season. He went 7-0 in the regular season, and then he went undefeated to the finals and got taken out by Awesomeness Guy in the last match. That was the only time he lost, because that was a broken mon. So, well,
yeah.
we'll see if he can pull that off with Lele and make lightning strike here. Funny enough, despite how good of a battler he is, he still doesn't have a championship to his name, which is honestly it's a little depressing to see, because he's so good and puts in so much work. And I've seen some incredible things out of him. I agree with you. He's one of the best battlers I've ever seen. And at this point, I think he just deserves it. He deserves to have a championship under his belt.
Is that true? He doesn't have a championship?
Yeah, that is 100% true. Unless he won something way off away from us that we didn't see.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
It's crazy to think about.
yeah, no, now that Roxas has been eliminated, who was the person I was rooting for just because I work with him, at Kronos, now that he's eliminated, I'm rooting for Matt. No offense, Chris. I think he deserves it after so long and so much work. That's the only reason, man.
Fair enough. I would root for Matt too if I wasn't so.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So let's move on to our number 5 seed. This is another name I'm sure you're going to recognize if you follow the league at all. Burrito Bro of the Chicago Bear Ticks. He was second place last season. He came out of this season 7-3 at +20, identical to Matt. However, he had the slightly greater strength of schedule, so he wound up taking the higher seed. He overall, and what that means for those of you who aren't too sports inclined, he had to face more opponents that did better over the course of the league. So in the tie, he technically did a little better because he had to fight slightly better opponents. It's nothing substantial. This is the first time we've actually ever had to break a tie this way. So yeah, he came out 7-3, +20, tied for second in the Lele division with Matt. So the first thing I want to highlight here is... Okay, I've got week 3 pulled up. So Burrito frequently won and lost his matches in the prep stages. What we have right here is his week 3 match versus a certain nameless ball-shaped individual. So what I did not expect here, and what nobody really expected here, so what we're going to see here is he has a max special defense Rhyperior with a Rindo Berry, which, for those of you at home, is this the right?
You might be...
I think I might be on the wrong turn again.
A couple turns ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely a couple turns ahead. That Rhyperior isn't still alive. Let me go back. Yep, okay, I think this is it. No, it was definitely early on. I don't know what happened there. So, yeah, he has a max special defense Rhyperior here. This isn't the turn. I think it's the next turn here. Yeah, he survives the Grass Knot because of the Rindo Berry here, and he's able to retaliate and take this thing out with a Rock Blast. Now, that's a build I've never seen out of a Rhyperior, and Rindo Berry, I had to look up... I mean, contextually, I know what that does, but I would have had to look up what that does. That's not an item you see very often. So this kind of calls back a little bit to what we saw with Roxas. You've got some of these weird sets, but they're weird, but they work. So when you see a lot of that, it's really winning and losing the battles in prep. On the flip side of it, again, I didn't pull this matchup, but he didn't expect Hidden Power Fire out of Vileplume, which made him lose Kartana, and he wasn't able to recover momentum the very next week after what was an incredible win here and a great fight. The other thing I really want to point out here with him is Mimikyu. His Mimikyu is currently the leader for the MVP race this season. Out of everything, whether or not it's still in playoffs, still has a season in front of it. Week 1, he throws Woodhammer on the thing and breaks a Rain Team and just walks through it for a 5-0 win. Week 5, he preserves Disguise to the end of the match despite it being at like 20% health to live through a Trick Room, retaliate, and win the match. Week 7, he saves his differential and gets himself up to this tie specifically by putting Mimikyu in on a Blastoise to avoid it getting a Rapid Spin and keeping hazards out there. So, Mimikyu was huge over the course of this game. So, what I have here, this is his Week 6 match. Where did it... Okay. So, I actually don't remember why I have this queued up, but I'll let it play here. I'll probably remember in a second. Oh, this was the Ditto thing. Again, this really goes down to winning and losing it in prep. So, this speaks to Kartana. Wow, I'm losing myself in my notes. I'm actually just going to completely bypass this and just kind of let this run. But Burrito has always been a great battler. Yep, Rue, your shame, unfortunately. So yeah, Ditto manages to take out the Kartana here. with the Smart Strike, which I've never actually seen a Ditto really be that effective, which this was impressive. And this kind of gets back into the Mimikyu here as well. He still has Disguise at this point. He saved it for the right point. He runs the Shadow Sneak. He takes it out. He still has the Disguise. Yeah, Burrito is a fantastic battler. I'd say he's up on par with Matt, and he had a great team. Mimikyu and Kartana both did great. When Kartana goes down, he starts to have a problem usually. When Mimikyu goes down, he starts to have a problem usually. But for him, it really is the prep. He wins and loses his matches by prepping correctly. And we see that all throughout the season. He's still in it. He was our number 5 seed. He was the top of the wild cards. Almost made it into his first round bye, which we're going to be seeing. We're going to be talking about some of the first round bye folks in a second here. And frankly, he earned it. He absolutely earned it. There was so much work put in on the prep side, and he definitely knows what he's doing, and he deserves to keep going at this point.
You bet. I think you got it all. Burrito's a good battler. He uses Mimikyu really well, though. Mimikyu is best done and used late in games. He conserves it well, and has things like Shadow Sneak to pick off things early, so he doesn't have to pop Disguise early, etc. Burrito loves that Mimikyu too, so good to see him use it well.
Yeah. So yeah, I apologize, by the way, folks. I'm derping myself in the chat. My notes and my timestamps here did not line up in any way, shape, or form, so I apologize for stumbling over my words there, folks. So I'm going to give it back to you, Chris, so we can start talking about our first round buys.
Cool. We're going into first round buys here. These are folks that had a bye week this last week, so enjoying the week off as we're heading into the second week of the playoffs here. We're kicking it off with our 4 seed Awesomeness guy, the winner of season 1, and his Orlando Bulbasaurs, the lowest seeded division winner. Awesomeness guy finished 7-3 this season with a +14 differential. Awesomeness guy's team is just really freaking solid. You can't say there's a theme. There's a matchup oriented. It just is a really good base team. Something that you could take a combination of on the ladder and do decently well. And it has some versatility as well. Celesteela being the biggest mon of the bunch, obviously the big fat tank that it is, that is annoying and has sets that subseed and stall and then set up with the Totemize and do a lot of cool stuff there. Mega Diancie, that fast magic bouncing mon. Landorus T, we all know it. It's that annoying mon with Intimidate that just has, again, lots and lots of stats, can run tons of sets, and Z moves make it even more viable in the format. And then Infernape, one of the better draft league mons because it can go physical or special, has a great speed tier, has the U-turn ability, the next and stance for setup opportunity. All those mons came pretty regularly to his matches. He shows the versatility a lot here. With the Lando T, he shows it a lot. He uses several different sets throughout the season, as he has Yachi Berry with the Ice type Berry that lessens Ice type super effective moves. Life Orb, Ban, Scarf, Z move, defensive with lefties or Rocky Helmet. All of these sets throughout the season have shown up well. And the core of Mega Diancie and Celesteela just kind of won games for him, and it was really cool how that worked out. Mega Diancie's so strong and complements Celesteela very well as far as defensively. They kind of cover each other's matchups. Mega Diancie is good at revenge killing what Celesteela doesn't like, and they were both responsible for over half of the Orlando Bulbasaur kills this season. So really big focus there. We're pulling up a game here against Mike, who we talked about previously. This is going to be a win for Awesomeness guy, in which he's staring down the barrel at what looks to be, at face value here, a loss. We have a +1 Haxorus with +2 speed, so even a Scarf Infernape is not going to outrun this, and Totemize from Celesteela is not going to outrun this. I'll go ahead and press play there, Hey Buck, as we're going to watch what happens here. It's not prep, but he makes the right decision here. He lets his Celesteela go down, and he's calking, right? He wants to make sure this is the right thing. and he brings in the Nidoqueen against this massive Haxorus, and is able to tank. If that Earthquake roll does 3% more, the game's done, and Mike wins 4-0. Instead, he's able to get the roll. He's able to even get a little bit of damage off on the Gyarados that's now at +1, and it does die to the waterfall. Again, though, we're looking down the barrel at what possibly could be something big for Mike, but the Rocky Helmet Miltank comes in. We know that Rocky Helmet's going to kill again after a curse, so it forces Mike to have to switch out there. But now we're in a point, Infernape is in and can just win the game now. Bulk up is absolutely massive. Not going to pretend like the Focus Blast didn't matter, because that Hitmonchan could have Mach Punch or something like that. But from here, Infernape's just going to claim the rest of the match. And so I brought this up as a potential thing to watch here, because I think that he used his outs really well. He knew there was a way, even if it was a small one, that the Haxorus that was at +2 speed was not going to be able to kill Nidoqueen. And then he made the awesome play of knowing his Miltank was going to be able to take 2 +2 waterfall / crunches from the Mega Gyarados, and the Rocky Helmet damage chips down enough after the Thunderbolt from Nidoqueen to be able to do what was needed to be done there. Now, I think if Mike watched this, he would possibly call that a throw. I don't think I'd call it a throw. I'd call it just some really good plays there at the end from Awesomeness Guy when he needed to make those plays. So, just really good season for him. It's something that we've been accustomed to from him. He's just a solid player overall. Nothing too flashy. He wins games. Nothing too big with his team, other than he brings good mons and uses them when he needs to. So that's all I got on Awesomeness Guy.
Cool. So we're going to move over to our number 3 seed. He came in first in the Fini division, 7-3 at +20. Technically, again, a tie with both Matt and Burrito Bro. But this is the Quahog Quagsires, run by J. Paul. He was a late addition to the league here. He stepped in at week 4 was his first week in the league. And while he went 7-3, his team went 7-3 technically, he inherited 3 losses. So I'd like to point out that this person happens to be undefeated in the league going into the playoffs. If he'd had this team from the get-go, he likely could have had a 10-0 record, which would have just blown everything out of the water. So he's a really good battler. So what I pulled up here, this is his Week 8 match, turn 39. Do I have the correct turn here? Yes. So I'm just going to kind of let this play here. So we see here, Calcs definitely mattered here. He has the Hidden Power Ice on his Landorus, which takes out the other Landorus, and incredible use of Golisopod and Priority. And I just wanted to highlight this here, because this is just kind of an example. We were just talking about that Diancie Celesteela core. This is a great example of how you take that down, and it's a great example of using less common mons, and using Priority properly to win matches that you shouldn't have really won otherwise. Same as Awesomeness in the last match we saw, he won the roll, he made the right call leaving that out, and he managed to survive and get a hit back in return. Now, this is the only match that he ever really had a threat of losing over the course of the game, or the course of the season. He went 5-0, 6-0, 4-0 for most of his matches. This is the only match he even came close, and it really did come down to that roll. And that's the other reason I wanted to pull this match up. It just kind of highlights how good he is, that this is the worst he ever did over the course of the season. So there was also some really good tech coming out of his team. One thing that we saw is he has that, he has the Mega, wait, where am I? He has the, God, my notes are horrible. So I apologize, folks, again, please dirt me in the chat. This was at the point where I'd gone through about 50 matches and my brain was starting to melt. So I'm just going to skip over that note. So we also saw a lot of extremely good predictions out of him over the course of the season. One thing that I saw that I didn't really expect, that honestly, to me, almost feels like a bad idea, but he managed to make it work. He switches more than I've seen a lot of coaches switch, and he used that to great effect. At one point in one of the matches he was in, I believe, week 6, he had a bunch of Pokemon that had Toxic and Burn and other damage-dealing status effects. He spent 4 or 5 turns just switching them out back and forth, which normally that's a horrible idea. You switch in, you take some damage, you take a little more damage from the status effect, and you go back. But by doing that, he was able to keep his opponent's Pokemon that was Toxic out long enough to get it in kill range and was able to use Golisopod here to hit it with a priority move and take it down. That is some extreme tech and some extremely good use of switching and the resources at your disposal. These are the kinds of things you see at this top tier play. So he's also really good at taking things slow and focusing on momentum and stalling the opponent's momentum. It's a lot of using your opponent against you. Getting a burn on a Buzzwole in his last match of the season against JDMI gave him that match because it cut the thing's attack in half when it was already at +1 attack, and it just no longer could break through anything on his team. He's also used Porygon 2 to incredible effect. I wish I'd actually pulled up a match. He successfully managed to use it as a stall Pokemon during Week 4, and then he switched it in to force out a Belly Drum Pokemon in Week 5. He uses a lot of weaker Pokemon using tanky, quote-unquote, Pokemon strategies. I'm seeing a lot of roosts and a lot of recovers on Pokemon that you normally don't see them on because they're usually too fragile to make any kind of use out of them. And really, nothing gave this team a hard time over the course of the season. It's really just a solid team that works well together. You've got... how did I screw that one up? So, yeah, wow. You've got... and this was, again, a really balanced team that you see a lot of different Pokemon coming all the time. His most commonly brought Pokemon were Golisopod 6 times, Metagross 6 times. Now, what you do have to bear in mind here is he only played for 7 of these games, so that was almost all of them. But then you see Landorus Incarnate at 5, you see Tyranitar coming in at 5, and you see Latias coming in at 4 to round it out. So he really, and Abomasnow Mega as well coming in at 4 to round that out. So he keeps using different Pokemon to great effect. One of the favorite things that I saw from him over the course of his season was using Pelipper and Tyranitar in tandem, both with the weather effects, to change things up on the fly. He can get any weather he needs out. So he was able to get Tyranitar out to get a little bit of chip damage from Sandstorm on Mega Gyarados when he was fighting against Mike. And then when he switched it out, he switched out to Pelipper just in time to save, I believe it was his Metagross, just to get rid of that, and Pelipper was able to take that thing down and won him the match again. So you see a lot of that kind of tech with him. A lot of Pokemon you wouldn't expect to see working well together, working very well together. So definitely a threat as we go into the playoffs. Like I said, he's undefeated. He'll be having his first match shortly. We'll see if he can keep that up over the course of the playoffs.
It's crazy that he's as good as he is with 3 weather setting mons.
Yeah.
And all of them give different weathers. It's crazy. And he had taken over for a rain team that was heavily built around rain. One of the most rain-leaning teams I've seen in draft league format. And he's like, I don't really want to do this. Let's get everything else but keep a rain element or 2. So it's just this enigmatic team that doesn't make sense with Pelipper, with Abomasnow, with Tyranitar, that kind of has 3 different themes. Not sure where it's going, but we're gonna see with the Alolan Raichu, with no Tapu Koko, and just so many weird things. But he's using it extremely well, and he's brought all of his mons that he's picked up throughout the course, because his team has changed more than any team in the league. I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think that he's doing so well with what I would determine to be so little. Really doing well. It's going to be an interesting playoffs for him, though, because now he's going to be going against top competition with a team that might not be able to compare, but he's one of the best battlers I've ever seen. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, on paper, this team looks like something that someone would draft their first time ever out in a draft league when they don't know what they're trying to draft, when they don't know how things work together. And lo and behold, like we said, he's undefeated and he's doing incredible things with this team that in no way, shape, or form should work together. I mean, you do have a little synergy between the Tyranitar and the Landorus Incarnate. You do have a little synergy between the Pelipper and the Seismitoad, but in no way, shape, or form is that enough to win games. And yet, it's winning games. So I'm really excited to see what he does as he goes through the rest of this season. He also in the VSL lost a single match over the course of it, if I'm remembering correctly. He got knocked out in the playoffs, and that was his only loss. So this isn't the first time we've seen this out of him, so this is not a fluke with a team that just he happens to know really well. So
Absolutely.
I am definitely looking forward to seeing him in the playoffs.
Cool. All right, we're at top 2 here. Moving forward here with our number 2 seed. I know he's watching. It's Mr. Carbonite. We're here with Mr. Carbonite. He finished his enigmatic mag mortars or elect mortars, excuse me, Carbonite. Finished 8-2. That's tied for best in the league, tied with yours truly. He had mons that big and attackful, if that's a word. We're gonna go ahead and say he kind of shared some team strategies here with Mike, with the Dragon Dance, Swords Dance sort of option. Mike having the Mega Gyarados and his Scizor. Carbonite kind of has his two mons in the same sort of edge here, if you will. Zygarde 50%. He brought it to 9 of his 10 matches. Because it's a really, really good Pokemon. And it had Dragon Dance, he used it really well over the season. And then instead of Scizor, like Mike uses, he used his Mega Scizor, which came to 8 matches. Now, Mega Scizor obviously comes with a little bit more flexibility, because it does have some higher defenses and a little bit higher attack, which means you don't necessarily need to run Choice Band or Life Orb or something that gives Scizor its extra oomph. You don't need to do that with Mega Scizor. He partnered them with the Ninetales, the Alolan Ninetales, excuse me. Big difference there, because Alolan Ninetales works really well with these 2 Pokemon, because both of those Pokemon need to set up, and Alolan Ninetales is there to establish the Aurora Veil and give them something to stand behind and set up, to click the Dragon Dance, to click the Swords Dance, or if you're Scizor and need to get into something else, click the U-turn, etc. Alolan Ninetales was really good for him in that sort of format. And then the final 2 mons that I want to talk about here, Xurkitree used it really well. Was a Z-move user on his team. Xurkitree is one of the better Z-move users in the format, with options like that, Gigavolt Havoc, and also we saw that Carb used it quite a few times. Whether it be here, I know I've seen him use it a couple times, the Z Hypnosis on Xurkitree that gives it the +1 speed, and Xurkitree's only knock is speed, so it's able to do a lot of stuff. Obviously it has Tail Glow and other options as well there. Carb season, it can really be personified by the combo of Aurora Veil plus Zygarde did what it needed to do. We talked a little earlier about Hexcat being killed by a Zygarde that was able to just get behind the sub and click Dragon Dance and start taking names. Also, that Z Hypnosis on Xurkitree always was a threat and nabbed a couple KOs with that speed boost. And yeah, sub Dragon Dance was huge. It feel like it was always a win con for him every week. And also Zygarde also has the coil. I don't think that he has it. He does not have it as a Z move option. It does have Outrage though, that always hurts. Zygarde's a really good mon, and he used it really well. Another mon that he used on his team a lot that punched a bunch of holes was that Hoopa. Hoopa Unbound is the Z move option. It does have the special attack or attacking option with it. Trick Room is a possibility, and he used it quite a bit as well. We're seeing on your screen right now how he kind of used his defensive mons really well in this matchup. The Intimidate on Incineroar coming in and out and making things irrelevant, doing really well against Luppy in this final in this match of the season that really had a ton to do with playoff seeding. Wow, it was massive, because the winner of this game had the chance to be the 2 seed, and the loser could fall as far as 6. Two of the best guys that we have here in the team going at, or in the league going at it right now. He's using his Alamola to pivot around, get the regenerator off, be able to scout out some stuff, put wishes up for other things, and he uses it really well here. Golbat also kind of that defogger, roosting, be annoying sort of mon. I don't know what set this Ninetales was that he brought to this matchup, but obviously it's able to be annoying as well. And we saw it do really well with this incredible matchup here of 2 Titans going against each other. Obviously the frozen Snorlax here wasn't good either. But,
yeah,
really good season for Carbonite as he got that bye, sits high at the number 2 seed, which is really great for him, and he looks to make a lot of noise in the playoffs as he starts playing this week.
Yeah, absolutely, and I completely agree with everything you said. Although, I will say, if you take a look at his naming scheme here, he was not very, very confident with himself going into this match in any way, shape, or form. And you said, you could fall as far as 6th, you could get the 2nd seed. That's exactly what we saw here. Carbonite won this, and he won it 3-0, and he got the 2nd seed, and it pushed Matt all the way down to the 6th seed, exactly like you said here. And this is that Hoopa punching through things here. I just pulled this match up. I know you didn't give me a specific match to throw up, but I thought this was a great example of kind of what he was capable of, and a really good match down the board. So yeah, this is his first season with us in the FPL, and just like J-Pole, I'm really excited to see what he does in the finals, or in the playoffs. And that brings us to our number 1 seed.
Who's that?
That would be one Chris of the Hannibal Hoot Hoots. Hi, Chris!
I bet he's a schlub.
I kind of get that inkling, too.
Yeah, he's a weirdo.
Okay, so, for obvious reasons, I was given the odd seeds to kind of research here. Mostly because Chris was one of our odd seeds, specifically our number 1. And what I found were some of the most interesting things I've seen in Draft League format in quite a while. The first thing I want to point out here is his most brought Pokemon is over half of his team falls into the quote-unquote most brought category. Coming 7 times were Tornadus Therian, Hydreigon, and Araquanid. Coming 6 times were Mega Heracross, Rotom-Mow, Alolan Marowak, and Jirachi. So this is one of the most even spreads I've ever seen for bringing your Pokemon in a Draft League team, or in a Draft League setting. And there are also a lot of really surprising moves and tactics. We'll kind of get into that here with what I have on the screen. But week 1, I do want to highlight this. He managed to capitalize on his opponent's Trick Room to or you managed to, I should stop referring to you in the third person, you're here on the call with me. That's just a habit at this point. You managed to capitalize on Kaya's Trick Room by switching into a Alolan Marowak, taking advantage of it over her, and then hitting Arcanine with an Earthquake and taking it out in one hit, that thing being one of the bulkiest offensive mons that we have in the league currently drafted. And then there was this match, which, is this the week 5? Because I have screwed up every other grab for the past, 3? So let me just triple check that before I embarrass myself again. So yeah, this was your week 5, which I saw a move come in here that I've never seen before, and I'm just going to kind of let this play. Little move called Doom Desire.
So you're a little bit behind now.
Am I? It's a little further down.
It was earlier in the matchup.
Oh.
Yeah, it was Jirachi against the what was it? It was Jirachi versus the Primarina.
Let me actually just Control F, Doom Desire. Okay, there it is. So go to turn. I'll go 1 turn ahead. Yep. So, yeah, a little move called Doom Desire that, again, I didn't even know this move existed beforehand. And this is where we start to see some of these, I don't want to call them off-the-wall sets, because you are one of the most straightforward preppers I've ever seen in my life. But you get these little things. You get this little bit of spice when you're prepping that just does incredible damage. I mean, we just saw it come out here. Yep, there's the Doom Desire attack that hits a little bit later. And I mean, that takes that Primarina and drops it down into kill range for pretty much anything you want to pull out on the board. We also have a stall arachnid that came out a little later in the season.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Just in prep, it was like I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I was excited to put it out there.
Yeah. I actually have an entire section here: judicious use of stall. So yeah, this. I mean, you can take a look at what he has on his team and what I listed. There's not much stall on that team. I mean, sure, there's Jirachi. I mean, you can kind of stall with that, but it's not a traditional stall team. He manages to make Arachnid a stall Pokemon by throwing Spiderweb at both a Cresselia and a Vaporeon when you fought Kyler, and took them both out over the course of quite a few turns. The only reason I didn't pull that matchup is because watching a stall match, for that long after watching Hex might be a little bit much. And then in week 4, when you were fighting Hex, you managed to outstall Hex with a Comfey for about 20 turns. Which, these are just things you don't expect to see coming out of the team that you had. Another huge threat that you had was Encore. And, again, that's one I didn't expect, but it's straightforward prep, but it's prep that everyone overlooks. You managed to force Tyranitar, your week 9 match, which, again, I didn't pull up here. You managed to force Tyranitar into a Dragon Dance, which allowed you to take it out. And then you managed to force Stoutland into an Encore Rest, again, taking it out. Two of the biggest threats on the board against you at that point.
That week, I just want to say that week was terrifying. So I had just picked up Wobbuffet as a mid-season reward, and I love Wobbuffet. It's so much fun. Just getting to trap things and kind of use predictions. And that was terrifying because in prep for that, I was going against Mega Tyranitar. We talked about it a couple times now. Stats win games. Mega Tyranitar has 700 of them. I was just terrified out of my mind. I had a Wobbuffet in against Tyranitar. I knew that I was not going to get knocked out by a crunch because Wobbuffet is a big boy. So I made the really ballsy prediction of thinking, of saying my opponent thought that I had screwed up and that he was going to win the game, or she, I can't remember who I was talking about.
This was your week 9?
Week 9, yeah.
That was Burrito Bro. Or not Burrito Bro, the Burrito Ben. I apologize.
Yeah. So I thought my opponent was going to think, yeah, I screwed up by putting in Wobbuffet against Tyranitar. If I had countered there, I would have lost the game. So, yeah, that was fun. It's a good mod for me.
Absolutely. However, speaking of making your opponent think that you screwed things up, here this comes. Yep. So, despite being the number 1 seed at an 8-2, which I neglected to mention, plus 26, managed to take the first seed by a +1 differential, by the way. So any single play here could have completely changed the entire board and given Carbonite the number 1 seed. You managed to throw a match that you should have had in the bag. So this is a 4-2 against Mike. It looks like Chris has this one in the bag. There's not a question. So, whoa, we are on very fast here. I'm going to go back a turn because you couldn't really see what the heck just happened there. There we go. Okay. So, Mike manages to take out Steelix here, but it's toxic, and the Necrozma goes down. That Necrozma's been putting in some real work for him at this point in the season. So, Mike sends out Caesar, which, again, put in a ton of work for him this season. A lot of really underrated mons over there. Chris, for whatever reason, instead of staying in on Jirachi, switches to Tornadus, which immediately then gets taken out by Aerial Ace, because if I'm not mistaken, you forgot that a Caesar or a Scyther is capable of holding anything but an Eviolite.
You got it. I was calcing, and I'm like, nah, even max attack Scyther can't kill my Tornadus. And I forgot that Choice Band existed.
Yeah. So one of the worst play mistakes I've ever seen in a league, and yet you still have the number 1 seed. So, I mean, this also just kind of goes to show, for those of you in the chat who may be interested someday in getting into Pokemon leagues, even some of the best battlers out there, like Chris, can still sometimes just make stupid mistakes. I mean, no offense by saying that, man, but...
No, it was idiotic, absolutely.
Yeah, but everybody still makes those mistakes, and this is just a great example of it, and I wasn't going to let Chris get away with showing that revenge from Kyler without at least doing this to him. That was going to be shoehorned in one way or the other. So there is one last thing I'd like to leave us on. before we start to talk about a little bit of wrap-up and some thoughts on playoffs going into that, and then start to get ready for our Q&A section with whoever happens to still be around. I know we're running a little later than we anticipated. There's one turn here, and fittingly enough, this is me versus Chris to end it all. So this move here, I'm going to leave this on really slow, because I learned something this day, about Mega Heracross. Matt Luppy learned something this day about Mega Heracross. Over half of our league learned something this day about Mega Heracross. And this goes back to that straightforward prep that everybody overlooks. Wait, am I on the wrong turn? Oh, no, it was turn...
No, you're good.
Yep.
Good.
Oh, I'm good.
Right after this.
So, I soaked the pin missile, and I calced that correctly. So I'm ready to take this thing back out. I think I have Flamethrower on that thing. I know I can soak another pin missile, that's fine, and that's the most damaging move. I think that thing gets... Were you aware that Mega Heracross learns Earthquake? Because I wasn't, and half of the league wasn't. That's that straightforward prep that has gotten Chris all the way through this season at 8-2, at your plus 26, that just everybody overlooks. It's huge, and there's something to be said about getting back to basics, and Chris, I think I see that in your prep almost more than anyone. You get a lot of these fancy sets and they really work. We talked about Worry Seed Shaman earlier, and that's a great example of it. But getting back to basics in a draft league can really just win you games. And that's what we see here. Getting back to basics here just won you this game.
We had a conversation earlier in the season about it's fun to be spicy, but be spicy for a reason. Draft League is about bringing really wonky sets and using them and having fun with them, but like it needed to work. So we talked about my Spiderweb Araquanid. That wasn't supposed to make any sense, but I knew my opponent had a Vaporeon that had absolutely nothing other than Wish, Scald, Toxic, and I expected either Protect or an Ice Beam in order to take out my Tornadus. So I brought it because I knew that with Rest and Spiderweb, with Spiderweb having a ton of PP, that it would work, right? I didn't bring it because I thought it would be cool, but it won games. Other than that, I use things like Mega Heracross, which between its 4 base coverage moves of Earthquake, Close Combat, Pin Missile, and Rock Blast, and 5 coverage moves, and Bullet Seed, has super effective coverage against almost every mon in the form. So it's the best thing about it was being able to always have an option in prep to take out whatever I needed it to. This team was fun. This is the most fun team that I've ever had in Draft League, not just because it's good, because they all go together. I have a ton of wall breakers on my team, with Mega Heracross, with Tornadus, with Nidoking, Alolan Marowak, and all of them are helped out by U-Turn Jirachi, U-Turn from Tornadus Therian, Wish from Jirachi, U-Turn from Comfey, Volt Switch from Rotom, in order to get in the correct wall breaker that I need for that second. Oh, this team has been so much fun, and I hope I'm not just going to be a first round out in the playoffs. I'd like to take this thing to the end.
Oh, absolutely, and I think you have a very good chance of it, but there's a lot of threats left. So the last thing I kind of want to leave with here, I mean, I do want to have a little general discussion before we take a break, before we get into the Q&A, but I do want to say our first round of playoffs is over. We will go more into depth on this later. If you guys are enjoying this format for the analysis, I'll probably come back and do a round 1, round 2 playoff analysis right before finals, but eliminated from the playoffs so far are JDMI, Kyler, Roxas, and Blog. They've all been eliminated after round 1. And I'll actually just go back to our top-level graphic here. Yep, so our 11 seed, 12 seed, 10 seed, and 8 seed have been taken out, which means that our first-round buys are finally getting their first shot at it. Chris will be going up against Hexcat as the lowest remaining seed for his first match. Carbonite will be going up against Mike for his first match. J. Paul will be taking on Matt for his first match. And then Awesomeness and Burrito are going to be going at it. So that's what round 2 is going to look like. And then obviously at that point, it kind of goes into your standard format. Highest seed versus lowest seed. So we have 2 more rounds after this current round that we're scheduling up right now. So I just want to say, kind of over everything, we talked a little road to the playoffs, and the unfortunate thing is we only have so much time in the day. There are so many great moments that came out of so many matches that didn't wind up mattering for the playoffs. I mean, we had great matches between people, neither of them made the playoffs. There was one match, me versus Mike, where I managed to pull it off 1-0, but it was completely irrelevant to his road to the playoffs, so we didn't even talk about it. And that's the unfortunate thing about not doing the match of the week, and why I loved doing that format, because you kind of get at that point to give everyone a little bit of the limelight. I mean, there were some matches from Kaya I'd love to show. Kaya won her first ever draft league match in this season, and everyone, give her props for that, because it was huge. But what we were trying to do here was give you kind of the briefest and biggest overview of what this season's looked like, kind of give you that window back into it as we start working our way through the playoffs and up to finals, because I would like to show off the finals match live here again like we did in Season 1. Yeah, this has been an incredible season. Everybody is stepping it up over and over here. Every season, everyone, we just get better coaches, and the coaches we still have keep getting better and better. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what people can do. And as we go into Season 3.5, as we have a war with the IPL, and then get into Season 4, which will be the last season we ever do on Generation 7, I can't wait to see what the folks that we have in this league are capable of as we keep going and keep learning and keep working together. Chris, did you have any thoughts you wanted to leave it on, kind of retrospecting on the season?
Yeah, just a fun season overall. I think I wasn't here for Season 2, so I can't say a ton in regards to that. Season 3 has just felt really competitive, and that's refreshing. I'm the kind of person that enjoys competition, enjoys playing with people that will push me to be my best, and people like Mike that will make me pay for forgetting that Scyther can hold choice band. I enjoy this sort of thing, and I enjoy winning and losing against folks that are going to put their best out there every week. I think that we've taken a step in that direction this season of the FPL. I still think the F in FPL is still there, Fun Pokemon League, because we're having fun by being competitive. I love some of the steps that we've taken with some really competitive coaches now coming in as replacements. Obviously, Jay Pole's the one that jumps off the page as someone who's going to be around and be a big deal for a long time. We have some great new coaches in Zach that came into the league, Darkness into the league this year. Both of them were unable to make the playoffs, but fun replacement coaches that I think will make some leaps and bounds as we go. Great season, really fun. Hoping that it'll be great competitive playoffs, relatively low hacks, etc.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if I were to look at this board and looking at who's still in it, I couldn't tell you who I'd be betting on to win. I mean, sure, like I said, I'm rooting for Matt at this point, but I mean, I could easily see Hex pulling this off. I mean, they managed to 6-0 Roxas in the first round of the playoffs, and Roxas was the higher seed. So I mean, there's some incredible coaches in here, and anything could happen at this point. So I couldn't even give you a prediction.
How far can Stall go? That's going to be my thing. Great ladder technique, but is it going to be able to pull it off against some of the best coaches out there? I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket. But Hexcat can make it work, if anyone.
Yeah, definitely. All right, awesome. So, hey, Chris, thank you again for taking the time to be on here. I know you're going to be sticking around for a little bit, but I just wanted to take the opportunity. So I do want to answer Riley in the chat here. Scyther can hold an Eviolite. And it does get the effect because it can still evolve into Scyther, or Scyther can hold it, because it can still evolve into Caesar. Dear Lord, I need a coffee. But we were referring to the match where Chris made a mistake and forgot it could hold anything else. So that's just what that was.
Right, because when you see Scyther on like PU ladder, Eviolite is its item. Typically, it can run other things, and Choice Band is among the things that it can run. But I don't know why I was
yeah.
Dumb. I was thinking that it's a Scyther, therefore it must be holding an Eviolite, which was the dumbest thing. And to take it a step below that, I mean, the only way I lost that match, bringing in my thought process is, unless it's a Choice Band, I preserve differential by bringing in Tornadus there, and I win the 4-0 when any attack was going to kill my Jirachi, choice band or not. And I wanted to win by 4-0, not 3-0, and I had thought that I had stopped playing, but the clock hadn't struck 0.
Yeah.
And that's what cost me.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I know you'll be sticking around for a little bit. We are going to switch over to the FPL voice channel because I know there are some coaches that are sticking around here and kind of want to come in for the Q&A session. That portion's going to be a little more informal. We're just going to kind of chat about some of the season overall with some of the folks who may or may not have actually made it into the playoffs. Because like I said earlier, I kind of want to get the stories from the folks who didn't make it to the playoffs and didn't shape the finals here. So we'll just kind of do that for a little bit until it feels like a natural stopping point. And at that point, if I feel up for it, we might go into some battle spot battles just for fun. But the rest of the stream at this point is going to be a little more relaxed and a little more casual. We're going to be doing the panel style Q&A. So stick around. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break and we'll be back with you then.
Oh, hi, hey, bud.
Oh, hi.
We're having a great time. We're talking about time zones and ditto, and yeah, I know, me too. I have PTSD with that thing. Carbonite, stop. Oh, you do sound weird.
Okay, is it better now?
Well.
Hold on.
A little bit of Morse code there.
Yeah. Carb, you good there, brother?
I think I should be good now.
Just like go through something famous,
Whoops.
like 407 years ago.
You know he's not American, right?
Oh, what's your version of the Gettysburg Address? To be or not to be? That is the question.
I did say it was going to be informal. Thank God I said that.
Wait, are we on stream?
Push to talk.
What was that?
Are we on stream right
I'm
now?
playing using push to talk.
And yeah, if I'm talking to you, we're on stream because everything that my headset picks up goes immediately to the stream. If it comes out of my speakers, it goes onto the stream. Hi, folks!
Oh,
Hi,
wow.
stream.
Don't worry about it, guys. Like I said, I knew this was going to be informal. So, hi, guys. Glad we got Carbonite's microphone issue seemingly worked out here. So, this is kind of our Q&A session, and I just want to take a second to kind of talk about how I'm going to run this. So, we're just going to kind of chat about the league. I have some questions I'm going to ask, and we're going to kind of go through all of the coaches. You can pop in or out if you're a coach in the FPL. As you've got time, we're happy to chat with you. But I've got some questions we'll ask, just to kind of be starting points for conversation. But really, I want this section to just kind of be, talking about the league. I know Rue's been in it for 3 seasons. Chris, you and Carbonite have only in your first season. But there's a lot to leagues, and I know a lot of people in the chat are interested in that. So just chat about it and kind of go from there.
Oh, Chris muted himself.
No, I'm here. I'm just trying to make it so we don't have 4 voices at the same time. Can I throw out the first question here because it's actually on our screen here?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Carbonite, I'd love to hear your prep matchup for what I previously stated is the scariest team in the league. If you just want to give us the Reader's Digest of what your thought process was, I think that'd be fascinating.
Well, against good old Loopy.
Yeah, little Matt Luppy.
Oh, that was terrifying. I think I couldn't decide what I was scared of more, the Snorlax or the Lalo. Both of them just had me shivering.
And the fact that he could speed pass to both of them with Scolipede.
Yeah. Either one could just come in for Tom Pass and be like, I'm here to win. Okay, bye.
Yeah,
He's like,
right.
well. So,
on the bright side, though, you did have that Alamomola to really counter both Lax and Scolipede, which I feel is the reason you were able to win the game. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, having a Alomomola really helped. I had what it was, I had a Darkest Lariat on Incineroar, so it didn't matter if the Snorlax cursed up, because Darkest Lariat will hit you no matter your status changes.
Oh.
So even if he boosted his defense, Darkest Lariat still hit him as hard as if he was at 0 defense.
I learned something new today.
I brought that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really handy move. It's kind of like Unaware, but it's the move. And it's 85 base power as well. Really nice.
Yeah, 85 is nothing to sneeze at.
Oh no, definitely not.
I'm running back through this game again for the like 5th time just watching it now, and I'm just realizing how many like really great things you had going for you here. The Infiltrator on Golbat was like magical because it stopped Subseed Superior that wrecked the whole team minus Incineroar. That's scary, and you did really well with that.
Oh yeah, Superior was one of those like he'll probably either like lead with it or it will be one of his like quick trying to destroy the team before something comes and cleans up. I need a nice check for this. Hold on, it just can't touch Golbat.
Yeah, amazing.
So okay, how do I beat Subseed? Oh, it gets Infiltrator. Well, that's that then. Slap that in and boom, here we go. One down.
Wow. That's really smart.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that's another thing. I completely forgotten that Golbat got Infiltrator until I saw it in this match. Because Golbat's just such an underrated mon. It was a great pick on your part, I gotta say.
Oh, Golbat does not get enough love. If it's tier 5, I'm scooping it up.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's gonna be tier 5 after this season. I really don't.
Aw.
Don't worry, it's not going far.
Tier 5 mon. No, not at all.
There goes my steal.
Dude, it's going tier 4, don't worry. I don't think it's going far. So...
I think,
Go ahead, sorry.
So I actually had a defog on Mega Scizor and Golbat because my Hooper Unbound was actually Focus Dash. So the main kind of premise was to be able to keep any kind of hazards off the field, then come in with Hooper Unbound, and then I could just Trick Room up, and then take out as much as I could, and then if I knew I couldn't defeat what was staying in front of me, I had Destiny Bond just to equalize it in case the Snorlax got too heavy or the Lele started just running rampant. I had the kind of insurance policy in the back in a way.
That's cool. Trick Room Destiny Bond.
I like that a lot.
Because Hoopa's so slow. That's his big deal. Is that, well, it's not really slow, but I think it's base 80 speed or something. So it's outsped by most of the big threats, and Trick Room is an option. If you make it min speed, it's going to outspeed almost everything.
Yeah.
Destiny Bond's cool, especially against something like a Scolipede that is guaranteed going to be quote unquote slower after the Trick Room because of speed boost, and is always going to knock you out with Mega Horn. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it was really nice. Fortunately, I didn't have to use Destiny Bonds because Hooper just managed to clean up at the end game there, which I was really happy about. So,
yeah. Yeah, I was surprised to see Hoopa put in that kind of work, but it definitely worked for you. Also, I just want to make a point to say how much I adore the irony of your naming scheme and what actually happened in this match.
Yeah, I did not expect the events to be what they were.
I'm just sitting here, when I logged in to watch this match, I'm just sitting here like, well, he's about to have a self-fulfilling prophecy and lose. Okay, I'm gonna go get a coffee. And then you actually won it.
Managed to pull it out of the bag, and I was like, oh, I think I was probably the most surprised person.
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, oh, well, alrighty then, that happened.
Carb, I just drafted Hoopa in a Token Minorities War League. How do you have any tips on how to use Hoopa Unbound? Because it's so tough to use.
Honestly, it's not a switch-in unless like you know something scarfed. Like I had a good feeling that with Loopy's Lele, I knew it was either Specs or Scarf. So I knew that after it used Sidekick, it was incredibly just a safe switch and could come in and then just do whatever I wanted with it. It's more of a mon that you want it clean to come in. Trick Room's really nice to use it. It doesn't really get any other setup, but then it doesn't really need any other setup. Bringing it mixed, physical, just special is really all you need for it, really. It's kind of... Well, it gets Calm Mind, but then, you know, Signal Beam's going to ruin it anyway.
Right.
So
and it has
deceptively
kind of low defenses, too, which is, like, scary, because a lot of priority stuff, like a Scizor, Bullet Punch, or a Lopunny Fake Out, or something like that, is going to do, like, so much to it. So it's a weird mon, and I like what you said, keep it clean, because I don't think you could... It's not a mon that you can sweep with at the end unless you have a lot of health on it.
Yeah, unless you know that you can kind of be tanky and take the hit, you really want to keep it as high a HP as you can in the match. And I never kind of rely on switching it in, hoping that they go for a different move instead. It's always, safe switch-ins, make sure that they have to switch out first when it comes in.
So, I kind of want to step in here and throw the second question out here, because I feel like Rue has kind of been sitting there in the background at this point, and hasn't really said all that much. So, Rue, I actually pulled up one of your matches here, and I'm going to ask this question to Carbonite, too, because I think the contrast is going to be really interesting, but you didn't have the best season. You went 1-9 this season. What, and like I said, I'm going to ask this to Carbonite, too. What, if you had to pick one thing from this season specifically that you didn't do great, that you really wish you could go back and change and do better? Like, what is the biggest thing that you think you could have done better to give yourself a better position for the season? Did we lose Rue?
I think he's sorry about that.
No. Hi, Rue.
I'm sorry, the dog made noise. I had to go check on him real quick.
Dogs are great.
No worries, man.
But it's just the one thing about the season that I wish I could have made a little bit better.
Yeah, like, if there's one thing in this season, like I said, you didn't have the best season, but if you could pick one thing that you think would really help your standings here, like one thing you regret from the season, like, what would you say that is, and how would you make that better for next season?
I think the one thing is my mindset in combination of learning more about singles in general. I'm not a best singles battler. Like I said, I've said before and I've stated again, more of a doubles battler. But singles is a different beast. You can't treat it like doubles. You have to take it as a completely different beast. And that's something I really need to focus a little bit better on, learning the logistics of singles.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it goes the other way, too. I've been trying to learn how to play doubles. I mean, I've gotten decent at it at this point, but that's because I literally stole someone's builds off of frickin' Smogan's forums, and I've just been using those. But I still, it says a lot that I take this double-specific build with a Mega Metagross that has Stomping Tantrum, and I spin around and throw it into singles and do infinitely better with a team built for doubles. You're completely right. They're two completely separate games, almost. Like, you almost don't know how to play Pokemon if you go to the other one. And that's been interesting to see. You and Kaya both have that issue. You're primarily doubles battlers, and you're stuck in a league with singles, and I mean, your records show it, and it's unfortunate, but that's another thing I really love about this league. We get folks like you guys that, you still just have fun despite the fact that the records aren't that great.
Yeah, and that's one of the core things, is you have to take this as a learning experience, and also you can't get salty over it. You will get salty. Everyone gets salty, but you have to just remember, learn from your mistakes. Or in my case, keep throwing a mistake at a wall until it sticks. And if it doesn't stick, switch to Ditto.
Yeah, and if it doesn't stick, switch to Ditto. I love that as your, piece of Confucian wisdom at the end. And the worst part is, you're the only battler I've ever seen get kills with Ditto. Actually, I'm gonna go take a look at the Draft League NL statistics, historically over all leagues for Ditto, because I kind of want to see where you stand there.
Oh, hey, Buck, I think you are massively undervaluing Ditto.
Yeah,
I might be.
Ditto is a lot more of a threat than people somewhat realize. And
Ditto's the stuff of nightmares. The fact that, okay, I think one of the scariest mons in Draft League, we talked about it in the stream earlier, is Tapu Koko Lucha combo, right? And Lucha gets a Swords Dance up, and it's the fastest thing on the field, it's the strongest thing on the field. The fact that a Choice Scarf Ditto can come in and be faster than the fastest thing that is above +2 in Draft League format is absolutely terrifying. So you can think, I won this game, and then Ditto comes in and is like, nope.
You're completely right. I'm looking at these stats, and actually, yeah, I see a 10... I see a 16-4 season from a team called the T Plus Pazolite from the SBL, and I was not aware that those kind of numbers were possible out of Ditto, and you raise a really good point there.
I think the one thing with the one thing with Ditto that people underappreciate is the fact that everybody anticipates you're going to be running Speed Scarf. You want to, I find a lot more value in running things like Red Card or throwing oddball things on it, like trying to anticipate Z Crystal moves. I love that concept.
Ooh. That's cool. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
Remember, the only rule with Ditto is if he copies into Omega, you can't Z Crystal on that. But the Ditto itself, as long as you're holding a crystal that is compatible with the move you transform into or get a hold of, you can use that. That's fair game.
That's incredible. And I mean, guys, listen to him. I'm actually looking over these stats. He has the third most kills with Ditto in a single season. 16, 9, 6. You are number 3, Rue. So listen to what he says.
Time to get up to that number 1.
Yeah, that's right. Ditto next season. Here we go.
Somebody drafted out from under him, or we're gonna have a problem.
I'm gonna take it round 1.
Oh god, round 1 Ditto picks is gonna be ridiculous.
Round 1, that means I'll just have to hunt from you.
Oh god.
Yeah. So, Rue, looking at your team here, just kind of diagnosing stuff here, how do you feel about your team? Do you feel that there are things missing, things that you wish maybe you would have drafted or picked up better? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Completely. It's kind of an odd way I did this league and how I've done this season specifically, because I was actually trying to gauge what other people were drafting. I was looking at combinations of mons that people were unfortunately popular using on small gun at the time, which is why I picked up who is that? That is Tapu and
Fini?
Fini and Volcarona.
Yeah.
Because I thought, okay, hey, this is something that is considered part of a core, and maybe I should learn more about how singles cores work. And to be honest, I was very lackluster in using that core. I ended up many times or not bringing them and trying to bait and switch with them to something else. And it's something that, honestly, my team had a lot of vulnerability, but it also had a lot of opportunity with things like the Drapion. And at first, I had the Mega Bird. Name is escaping me all of a sudden.
Mega Pidgeot?
Yeah. And it was little things like that were like, okay, maybe I should try some shenanigans here and there, flip-flop things. I mean, I did start with one of the better Rainmakers, which is Pelipper, and then I completely dropped it at first because I was like, you know what, Rain's not the way I want to go with this. And then all of a sudden I was like, nope, 360, go back to Rain, and pick up the Frog, so...
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of like split up the Rain options as soon as Poseidon dropped from the league, because Poseidon had like nothing but Rain down the board. I really wish I could go historical and look at what his team looked like before he dropped, but it was nothing but Rain down the board. And the second he dropped, the trades chat just went ballistic with people taking those Pokemon.
Yep. Yeah, because J-Pole did a whole 180 with the team. He's like, I'll keep Pelipper, but get rid of all the Rain mods, and the only one I'm going to stick with is Seismitoad. And it was weird at the time, but then you have stuff like Politoed, Mega Swampert, which, if you use it right, can work really well. Rue, I don't hate your team, man. I think it could be used well. I think you lacked a lot of hazard support. Right, because you have Volcarona on your team. Volcarona needs to have at least 3 things that go with it that can either defog or spin away rocks. And your defogger is Fini, great defogger, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it like really does a ton as the only thing, because Fini can be countered by a lot of common things. Poison Stab is super common in Draft League as well. And just kind of the synergy's weird too, because like Volcarona in the rain is a little strange because you can't get out off that fire stab because it's always going to come out not very effective.
Yep.
I will say though, one thing that this team really has as I'm looking at it, you have a ton of priority options on this team. Like an absurd number of priority options on this team. And that's good. That's really good to have.
And I didn't, unfortunately, really follow through on those until later on in the season. Even after that, I would kind of quote unquote clouded in my judgment, thinking, oh, maybe Rain would be a better choice, and I should have just stuck with the more native abilities of my mons.
Were you ever able to get speed pass from Ninjask off onto Breloom? Was that a thing?
Once?
That's terrifying.
No, it wasn't Breloom that got the speed boost. I think it was the Swampert that got the speed boost.
Oh. Yeah, Mega Swampert outside of Rain with the speed boost. Oh, crap.
Yeah, it was kind of like a fallback in case the Rain fell through, and it was just like, well, this is my other way of doing it.
Zach says in the chat, Ditto is the most powerful Pokemon in Draft. It sure can be if it copies the most powerful Pokemon in Draft, yeah.
No, he's 100% right. Inherently on its own, it's not, but dear Lord, can it be after what I just heard? So, I want to take a second to ask Carbonite the same question, because I really want to hear the contrast, though. Carbonite, you had a great season. What is one thing from this season that you kind of really regret, that you wish you could go back and do a little bit better? Because, I mean, we just heard from Rue, who didn't have the best season. I kind of want to hear what it's like, on both sides of the spectrum.
So one of the the major things that my team was missing in draft was another cleric. Like, I probably shouldn't be saying this because I have matches coming up.
Oh, crud, right.
I'm taking notes, Carb. Don't you worry.
Well, I lacked defensive checks. I lacked kind of mons that could heal bell, aromatherapy, kind of mons that could wish. I ended up leaning on Alomomola quite well, and every time I had the chance to fix it, I completely forgot about the issue until I'd already made my choice. And I was like, oh wait, I needed this. Oh no. But yeah, I think like if I just managed to get like another cleric, another kind of mon that could kind of safely keep status away from my team, I think that would have been quite nice to have. But I don't know, otherwise than that, I think I think I kind of wanted to get more use out of my lower tier mons.
Yeah.
I know that my 3 kill leaders is actually my Fairy Dragon Steel Core with Mega Scizor, Zygarde, and Ninetales. Ninetales itself getting 9 kills was quite surprising for me. That thing put in some work. I think that thing's like 9 and 2. It's like the best KD on my team, which is insane. But obviously, Incineroar, Alomomola, they've showed their worth. Golbat coming through. Xurkitree, I believe, is 6 and 3. So I think like maybe like using a little more utility from my lower tier mons, maybe quite nice instead of mainly leaning on the higher tier ones.
Yeah, I see that a lot in like almost all teams. You see those lower tier mons just get ignored. I mean, I see it on your team. I see it on a lot of teams. You got Mind Show here that hasn't been brought yet. You've got Mespirit here that hasn't been brought yet. I can't remember if you traded for those. But yeah, I see it all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, even on
very, very recent additions.
Yeah, actually, let me look at the. Can I get to the?
I got those for the season. I got those for the season rewards for going into the playoffs.
Right. Okay, no, that makes sense then. Yeah, but I mean, you've also got Golbat that only came the once. I mean, it put in the work when it came in the once, but it only came the once.
Carb, like, okay, so help me out here. I'm struggling to figure out where Venusaur fits in on this team.
I wasn't gonna mention that because I have a special place in my heart for that Pokemon, and I'm just happy that it's there.
With the Mega Stone, sure, but I don't see it.
Yeah. I just needed a bulky grass type. Was really kind of the choice there. It's not something that's gonna come like every week. It's very rare. Like personally, probably gonna offend a couple people, but I'm not the biggest fan of Mega Venusaur, just from how bulky that thing is. Ooh. But no, I thought I might try on Venusaur, see what all the fuss was about, but I don't see myself bringing it too much. It was kind of just to fill the grass quota. I mean, that thing probably would have been. I mean, if I have to go up against Loopy again, like that thing will also be a really nice SERP switching, because obviously then it loses Leech Seed as well.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably more or less like, I think I drafted it to deal with one of the people that I'm coming up in the playoffs, but I can't remember who I grabbed it for.
That's never a good sign. It's like, I have this for what?
I don't want my opponent to be watching this and know that I have prepped specifically for them. Yeah.
Point well taken. Point well taken. Yeah, Rue and I are over here sitting here from the perspective of, yeah, we've already been knocked out. Let's just talk about whatever. I'm not even thinking about, like, I've still got matches going.
All right, no, well, now here we are. We've asked these two. Hey, Buck, why don't you tell us what thing you regret most from this season?
Fudge. What I regret most from the season was being weird with my sets for the sake of being weird with my sets. If I had stopped doing that 1 week sooner, I mean, actually, I'm just going to look at the differentials here. I'd like to point out that I'm 4-6 and have a higher differential than 1, 2, 3 coaches that made it into the playoffs.
Yep.
So if I had figured my shit out 1 week earlier, I would have been a playoff contender. And that is my biggest regret. It actually took you, Chris, and Matt together basically bashing my head into the wall going, well, what's the point of that? Well, they're not going to expect it. Well, yeah, they're not expecting it because it's dumb.
I think that is copy-paste from one of our chats.
I will admit I was in that same boat for quite a while.
That is such a stereotypical Chris response.
No, and
of course they're not expecting it because it's dumb. Yeah, that is something I would say.
Wasn't that when I said I think I'm gonna take bind on Venusaur to trap the thing, and you were just like, no.
No.
It was the dumbest idea I've ever had in my life, and I deserve to hear it. And then when I got back to straightforward prep, like I said earlier, going back to basics matters. I went back to straightforward prep. I won the last 3 matches of the freaking season, including one against Mike. So, I mean, it did make a difference, and that's the biggest thing for me. And now I'm going to flip that back on you, Chris, and I will not accept not throwing the match against Mike as an answer.
That is my biggest forgetting about choice spam. Oh, let's see. Let me go to my team real quick. Man, I don't have a ton of regrets this season. I feel like this is the most that I've ever thought out a draft. If I had any regrets, it would be that I wish Jirachi was able to do more. Because I was in a situation that I didn't really care what my first pick was. I don't go into a draft saying, here's my plan. So literally I put all of the T1 Mons into a random picker thing, and it spit out Jirachi, and Jirachi was available for me, so I picked it. And it's a weird Mon because it does a ton of really great things, but it doesn't do them like really well, I guess. It has the wish support, which is great. It has the Iron Head flinching hacks choice scarf thing, which is also great. But it's just a really like okay Mon. When I expect my T1 to be brought 9-10 matches out of the season, this thing got brought 6 because there were a lot of times that, well, if something on my opponent's team brings knockoff, I'm screwed. And if I could do it again, I would pick something other than Jirachi. I don't, at the end of the draft, I wasn't like, I'm going to drop it and get something else, because I love the U-turn potential it had with the rest of my Mons, but yeah, I'd like to use it. And, like, better, I guess. I just never quite figured out how to use it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing, though, is, like you said, the rest of your team is put together really well. Although I'm going to ask you the same question that you asked Chris about it, or not Chris, Carbonite about a different Mon. What point do you have for Gardevoir on this team with everything else you've got here? You've got the quick Mons, you've got the high special attack. What did you pick that up for? Because I know that was in my team for a while, so that's a recent pickup.
Yeah, that was my reward. So I had Comfy, my calm minding, out stalling Hex Comfy. But that's the only thing Comfy did all season. I didn't love it because it's not fat. Draining Kiss, it's great on paper of priority stab Draining Kiss, but Draining Kiss is a base power 40 move. It's not good. And so I drafted it thinking, yeah, I'm just going to click Draining Kiss against everything, and it's going to be priority, and it's going to be fairy type, which is an awesome stab typing that's going to be great. And it wasn't. And it took like 3 or 4 calm minds for Comfy to even be able to do something. And I needed a fairy type for the team because my steel dragon core of Jirachi and Hydreigon was so potent that Gardevoir was just the easy reward there. I agree with you. It doesn't have a ton of synergy, and I'm not yet regretting it. Even though I kind of miss having my Comfy now that I'm going against Hex, but
yeah,
that's okay. We'll figure something out. Gardevoir can do a lot of things though, and it does more things than Comfy does, and also still do have the Jirachi for the cleric kind of thing, because it has Wish, it does have Heal Bell. If I needed to lean on something for support for the team, I can still rely on Jirachi and not have to worry about Comfy for aromatherapy synthesis stuff. So I don't know, we'll see. It could be a dud of a pickup, but
fair enough. So do you have any questions you want to throw out, man? Because I just hit the last two.
I don't know. How are you guys?
Can we quickly talk about my match with Cyberblade? Oh.
Your match with Cyberblade?
That thing. Yeah.
Hey, Buck, throw it up.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Give me a minute.
Oh my god.
Snowpoint.
Yeah, you're gonna want to do it soon because you're currently showing me versus Kyler, and we're about to get to Araquanid versus Vaporeon.
Oh crap! Yeah.
And it's gonna be 40 turns of spider webs and wishing. So.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Oh god.
Okay, here we go. All right, Rue, go ahead, hit me.
Here we go.
Oh god, it starts out fine and then it slowly just starts trickling down.
So
this is between Rue and Cyberblade, or
yeah, this is Rue and Cyberblade. So
okay.
what did you want to talk about with this match? Because this match doesn't really stand out in my mind.
I was talking about my match versus Cyberblade.
Carb versus Cyberblade.
Oh shit! I misheard who was talking. Give me a minute. Jesus Christ.
It was there are a couple moments that are just disgusting.
Yeah, let me pull the actual match up.
There was a couple of moments that I was like, I made the right play, and I was punished for it. Like this doesn't make sense.
I hate it when that happens. It's not found.
No, I think I just hit the I hit a dash on the number pad somewhere in there. All right, cool. So, why did you name your Xurkitree Burrito Bro for starters?
It makes sense.
Okay.
I think I just named all of my Pokemon after people from the FPL. I think for this match.
I didn't watch this match because I don't remember myself being a Zygarde.
I swear to God, if Chris isn't in here.
I swear to God, why didn't you name me the Venusaur after me, dude? You know me.
That's true.
Oh, that's a good point. Why didn't I do that?
Manaphy with the Ice Beam. I don't think I watched this one.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many matches this season. I missed a lot. Yep. Anyway, go ahead, man.
Oh, it's just... This is like, for everyone watching, like, you're gonna see a Lomomola shine, and then you're gonna see a Lomomola get mugged on screen. Like, twice. You're gonna see it just get mugged.
Oh,
It's gonna
making
be
good plays right
opportune.
now.
Yeah.
Earth Power from Garchomp is I'll scratch my head there.
yeah, that's not...
I was a little kind of... Because I didn't see what point... I mean, maybe to hit the Hitmontop harder after Intimidate, but...
Well, maybe
still didn't do that
Alola
much.
as well. I mean, Aloe has no special defense, so maybe...
Yeah, but...
Yours
Yeah,
had
maybe.
a ton of special defense, so...
Yeah, it wound up not doing much there anyway.
Eating those hits.
So I love how I'm the...
Obviously...
Good, sorry.
I'm sorry. I just said that I just love how effective Wish is for Lomomola, because that thing has such a sky-high HP stat.
Yeah.
That I think, like, for Incineroar, I think when I was switching, obviously not in this match, but I was switching Incineroar for Wishes from it, and it was gaining like 70-75% HP back,
Oh,
which is
full
just
para.
insane. Yep.
Yeah,
Where it starts to go downhill.
Yeah, that's one thing about Wish. No one remembers. It's
Why?
based off the HP stat of the Pokemon that uses it. So
Yeah.
it's not something a lot of people take
Oh
good
my
advantage
gosh.
of.
Carb, stay paralyzed longer. My gosh.
And yeah, because of that, you couldn't rapid spin out the freaking hazards despite trying for 3
Yeah.
turns.
Click the fighting move against the Ferrothorn. Anything.
I tried. I don't want to hear it. I tried.
And Hoopa. Here comes Aloe. Time to 1v1 the...
Darmatan.
Easy.
Oh, it was just so brutal. Like, just... See, I Hyperspace Fury there, and it killed. It killed.
Easily.
That was the first one that I was gutted about. It was just like, that's ridiculous.
You're gonna win
Like,
against
that
this
hurts
thing.
so much.
I forget.
Yeah, Alomomola can take on Darmanitan quite well.
Why is he staying in and just flare blitzing?
I don't know.
I actually have no idea.
Maybe he's getting cocky at that point because he was up
and then-
6 and 3.
Scald comes out and kills. That was actually a pretty good play from you. I don't think Scald was the play there, but it worked out.
No, I knew he didn't kill me, and there was really no point in protecting, so I had a feeling at that point he switched. So I think before, like, the protect, he had done it because he thought that he was either hoping for a crit, or I think it might have, like, been a roll to kill or something.
Got it.
I think I saw Flare Blitz doing about 20%, so he probably thought, you know what, like, I can do this. And then you see the energy ball get the nice special defense drop, that nice 10%, which is real sweet.
Exactly what
Yeah,
you
just
needed right there.
toxic protector and wish. Yeah, exactly what I needed. Just nice to now have to go in and sack something off, just so I can then get Alomomola back in clean with that regenerator.
And then
Critting me with energy ball as well, which didn't matter too much, but it was still like, really?
I do wonder if that Manaphy had tail glow, because I feel like this would have been a different game if it did.
by the way, the folks that are watching on the stream, you can't see the chat right now. I just saw Dark Cyberblade just go, "Don't you even?"
Yeah, he got a little annoyed at Alomomola and was like, hey, at this point, I'm doing what I have to win. I didn't see myself doing this, but I have no choice, okay?
This didn't work, man.
And then suddenly,
Yeah,
the special Garchomp matters when you get the burn.
Yeah.
It does.
But-
Well, and special Garchomp, like regular Garchomp, is not winning against this thing unless it has Swords Dance. And special, actually, he's getting very unlucky with not getting Spadef drops here with Earth Power. He hit it, like 5 times there? So that means at least a 50% chance of getting the Spadef drop.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
And now that's the pinnacle right there, is Thunder Wave. Making it so Aloe can only do things half the time.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
And here we
where I
go.
started just getting robbed.
Here it is!
Oh, here's the mugging.
Oh, yes! Nah, it's good. He's just gonna hit Scald. And it's all gonna be good.
That was a great predict on Cyberblade's part. Like, oh, he's probably going to protect. I'm going to hit the knockoff really quick so I don't kill myself. That was huge.
I think, when was it?
Wow.
The protect on the knockoff.
You
There
know,
was one moment where he high jump kicked and I got fully paralyzed, but I'd actually clicked protect.
Oh, no.
So he would have killed himself.
I thought you were just naturally faster. Oh.
No,
so
I
you would've-
clicked protect.
You would have
I
just went
clicked
right
protect.
down. Oh, God.
Yeah, because this would have died, and then Ferrothorn had no attacking move, so I know if Hitmonlee's gone, that's it, that's over. But nope,
Wow.
I clicked protect, got punished for it, and it was like, well, Alomomola could have got 6 kills that game. Alomomola could have been the ace for that, and he got
Some
mugged.
games,
hi,
games
Turtle.
you just like, you always remember, and they sting.
Yep.
My loss
They do.
to soccer will always live in the back of my mind.
Yep.
Me losing to our
Good friend.
black and white spotted friend.
Yep.
Oh
So,
boy.
hey, Turtle. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. So, if we just need something to, like, run in the background while we chat, I have the perfect match from this season to just run for an hour and a half while we chat.
There it is. Here we go.
If you thought the Vaporeon Araquanid install was bad, here comes to 147 turn bullshit.
You're in for a treat. Who's
This is
win
gonna
the
be
stall?
fun.
Spoiler alert, nobody wins the stall war. Everybody loses.
Gosh.
Just the last. Ooh, sorry.
Oh god, sorry, man.
So just the last bit about the Cyberblade bat. I wanted to win that because even if I only won it with the 2-0 there, it meant that I could have lost 1-0 to Loopy and still placed higher than him differential-wise for the
Oh, that
leader.
would have been 2 seed.
Yeah.
And then you would have had to play Hexcat.
See, but I had a good time against Hexcat.
Not all of us did!
Rainbow against Hexcat?
Not all
Yeah,
of us did.
I got a 5-0.
Yeah, hey, Buck.
I'm seeing you having fun. I'm seeing you having fun now.
I had to sleep on the fucking couch because of this match.
What was this goth set? Hey, Buck, do you remember?
What was that?
What was this goth set? Oh, it's Rest, Calm Mind, Psychic?
No, Thunderbolt, Psyshock. And this was specifically built for the Chansey. You helped me prep for this.
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Yeah, because this thing has, like, no physical defense, so we were going for the special attack, special defense up, so we could hit it with a Psyshock and 1 HKO it, because this was the biggest threat that we saw in the first place, not everything else that actually gave me a problem.
That's true.
I hope you enjoy the couch again, because I think you're sleeping on that again tonight.
Oh my god.
PTSD's setting in.
I know, right? Jesus. No, I'm doing alright, Turtle. Oh, shit. Hi, I just saw that in the chat. Hi, Turtle. I'm doing okay. Although I'm sleeping on the couch now, so, apparently not doing great.
Crack out the blanket again.
Oh, man. Wait, why is our viewer count going up while we're just bullshitting here?
Oh, why not?
Oh, wow,
they like this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's less formal and more relaxed. Also, later in the night, but still. Oh, gosh.
I never saw how you lost this game.
It might be night for you.
I know you had to leave at the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, the 30-minute mark.
I forfeited 3 and 3. In the
Why
middle
did
of the...
Psyshock there?
Wait, where did I Psyshock? Let me go back 2 turns, because
Oh, there was a chance there. I don't know how much Zygarde did to Gothitelle with 1,000 Arrows. Right here. You should have rested and not Psyshocked.
I got greedy. Like I was saying earlier, stall works by throwing your opponent off kilter and frustrating them. That is exactly what happened to me.
I am going to frustrate you and throw you off kilter, because now I'm going to look up Zygarde 10% with a choice span versus Gothitelle.
Oh, crap.
Okay, you would have been fine. Well, no, you wouldn't have been fine. You would have died either way. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so it didn't really matter, and I actually made the right call there.
If
Good.
you didn't, though, you could have won that game 6-0.
We prepped for that, but no. There were a couple more huge mistakes early on that lost me my Noivern and my Victini, which were my other 2 damage dealers.
Noivern's weird. Are you
No,
sure
not my
this
Noivern.
match with you?
My, the Victini and the Vikavolt. Those were the 2. I'm 99% sure. I'm gonna go back in our DMs.
I don't feel like I would have ever told you to take Noivern for this match.
No, I don't want to search for my chat with Hexcat. I want to search for the string Hexcat in this chat.
Because I don't know, like, maybe for Tangrowth, but Tangrowth is expected to be Assault Vest, so other than that, I don't see, like, Noivern really putting in a work.
No, you didn't help me with this. Matt helped me with this one.
Ah, it all comes down to Luppy.
No, I don't think there was... This fucking match, I don't think I was gonna come out... Yep, there's the oof. So, Turtle, how is your shiny hunt going anyway, man? Floof asleep on your couch right now? What do you mean, Riley? There's no one asleep. Tawny's right here. Oh my god. Why am I scrolling through our entire conversation when there's a fucking button to go back to the bottom? Jesus Christ, brain.
This is a fun game.
Hey.
I'm enjoying this.
Well, wait until we get to the point where it's 3v3 for over 100 turns.
Big
We're
fan.
about a third of the way through.
What's
No, a little under a third.
No, we are... Hang on, I need a calculator. Because it was 146 turns.
I think if you had gotten the flinch there, the game might have been over.
Yeah, and that's what I was going for. Yeah, we are just under a third of the way done with this match.
If you had gotten the flinch there, the game would have been over. There's no way that Brave Bird was going to kill your Vikable.
Here it is.
Yep. And now we enter the sixth circle of hell.
Yeah, at this point, it's just how many things can roost and recover and generate.
Jade is sleeping on the couch tonight because she's making me relive this bullshit.
This is fun.
Good luck with your shiny hunt, Turtle. I'd love to talk about anything other than the fact that I'm sleeping on the couch tonight.
let's talk about how I'm gonna beat this monster this week.
Oh God, yeah, you're going up against the person that we're watching just stop me in my fucking tracks.
This team is just terrible, man. Now if there's any team in the league I think that can do it, it's my team because I have wall breakers. So I'm not too worried about the the Pukamuku because I don't need Heracross to set up Sword Stance. I just kind of attack things. But there is no answer to Mega Sableye on my team right now outside
She
of
was supposed to play a board game with the night of this match. After an hour, I went and did Angry Sleep instead. I think I've ever had Angry Sleep.
Angry Sleep? I've had Angry Sleep several times.
Actually, if I can bring something up real quick.
Do it.
This is our first season where we have the going into postseason with a lockout on any mons that were already drafted, correct?
What do you mean lockout? Like no
Anybody that was
transactions?
no pulling from pre-existing teams that did not make playoffs. If I remember properly, season 2 we allowed that, correct?
No way. That's crazy. I don't know. I wasn't here for season 2.
That's what I'm double checking.
Me neither.
I had to step away for a second.
Season 2, we allowed the playoff teams to pull mons from the exited teams that did not make playoffs. Yeah, I was about to say this is yeah.
Yeah, no.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. No?
I'm muted on the stream. I'm muted on the fucking stream.
Oh
no. God.
How long have you been
This is gonna be great content for the frickin' VOD I'm uploading to YouTube later. So, anyways, yeah, season 1, we had a false start. 4 weeks in, we had to restart the season. We allowed everyone to keep one Pokemon from their original season 1 team in their season 1.5 team. And there were a couple of pretty obvious ones, but that's what Lexi was referring to in the chat there.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
You have your MVP and you get to just bring it back. That's cool.
Yeah. And weirdly enough...
actually answers one of my questions at 1.5.
Oh, yeah. What? Just why we have a 1.5 and not a 1?
What is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was intrigued on if it was just like a small season where you did like an LC like season or something, and you named it 1.5 because it wasn't like a proper season. But
no, it was just the false start. Because I mean, yeah, like I said, I think we lost 3 coaches during that break. Because like I said, it was supposed to be just like a 1 week off break. Because at the time I was the only person running the league. Like I didn't have anyone helping me really, except for Lexi, who helped me occasionally, and that was more with just like, hey, can you do this while I'm at work? So when I left, the league stopped. Which is also why I brought Matt and JDMI up to help me out for season 1.5 into season 2. Specifically to avoid that ever happening again. But yeah, no, it was just a complete false start. Are we good? That's 2 nights on the couch. Or are we gonna go for 3 nights? Why is the number going up? What am I doing? Oh God. Also, hi Circle, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. You know what? I think I'm just gonna put on any other match that I can find here that does not involve Hexcat because I don't want to continue sleeping on the frickin' couch.
As long as it's not week 2 against soccer, that's all I care about.
No, I'm not gonna touch anything with that.
My week 2 match with Ginger was pretty good.
Let me actually pull that one up.
I made a really good play.
Who puts Choice Scarf on Ambipop? I thought I had won that game. I'm like, Webb's down. We're looking good. The Mandibuzz is dead. My Nido King, Stacy's dad, is just gonna click buttons. And no. Scarf Ambipop.
By the way, if anyone's curious, we had another 40 turns left in that match. Just for anyone who's curious. Switcheroo set hog. Oh man.
That first move was so critical because Ice Beam killed the Honchkrow, so I didn't know whether to go for Sucker Punch or Pursuit.
That's amazing that killed it.
Oh, I'm so glad that it did.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to reveal the Sucker Punch and he switched, but I felt like Starmie was too essential to his match. It kind of Ice Beam did in the Zygarde. Obviously, it did in the Incineroar and stuff. So I thought, he's gonna save this. He's not gonna just try and get the kill. He's gonna save this, fearing the Sucker Punch.
Do you know off the top of your head, was it a roll? Because I know Honchkrow's huge. I've used it, but man, you could have been in some trouble if that didn't kill.
I mean, I'd have to imagine it was a roll. Or
no, let me count it real quick.
I mean,
Honchkrow's got a lot of attack. So
yeah. Oh God, why are we pillow fighting in the chat? So I named my shiny Metapod Cheeto Pod thanks to Natty. Oh Christ, what color is a shiny Metapod anyway?
It's like a gross puke green. Yeah,
it's not a very nice color.
It appears to be orange.
Oh, is it orange? Oh, I thought it was. Oh, I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. Also, I know what match I want to put on next. Also, I hate Ginger's name for this frickin' thing. The B-movie is not A+.
I love it. Dude, look at how Dino putting in some work right now.
I know. I love that Mon. It's just... I want it to be better than it is.
It's so derpy and
it needs to be a little more bulky.
Yeah. There's a reason the Mega version is an RU Mon. But yeah, I know exactly what match I want to put on after this. I want to put on Kaya's first ever victory in a Draft League match.
That's a good idea.
Because
Carb, are you aware that I think a Swords Dance there from Mawile?
Yeah, I didn't prep nearly as much for... Honestly, I wasn't sure Mawile was coming, to be honest. I wasn't sure it was coming, mainly because of Mega Scizor and Incineroar. Like, I was not sure it was coming at all.
Incineroar, absolutely. Mega Scizor hates Mawile as Fire Fang.
Yeah. I don't know why he switched out here, unless he wasn't running Fire Fang.
Yeah, he must not have been.
Yeah, because...
Substitute requires a move.
That's a good point.
Iron Head and then something. Swords Dance, Knockoff, Sucker Punch.
Oh, Lexi, what are you about to friggin' do to me?
Do it.
Oh, Christ.
Do it, Lexi, do it.
Was this whole game... So he didn't have Sucker Punch or Fire Punch there, because he should have gone for one of them.
I think in the end he has Fire Punch. I made the critical error. My Mega Scizor's only attacking move was U-turn. I can't remember what I had on him.
Oh, you didn't even have BP?
No, I didn't even have BP.
Hey Dino man, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. It's Kaithral streaming tonight.
So how are you going to kill this?
He doesn't.
You don't!
That's the whole point. I don't kill this thing.
I thought you won. Okay, I don't know why Ginger played the way he did, because he should have Rio'd.
Dino, we're actually not doing battles tonight. We're doing league analysis and match review tonight. And we're just kind of chatting. We've got Mr. Carbonite, Mr. Rue, and Chris on the call here, and we're just kind of going over the FPL's last season, kind of doing a review. You missed the more formal section, but now we're just kind of shooting the crap about the season at large.
I am going to be heading out here in about 5 or so minutes, guys. So.
Yeah, we should probably call it in a couple of minutes here anyway. It is getting pretty late. But I do want to at least end on Kaya's first ever win, because this was huge, and I don't think I've seen the league more unified than when this happened. Just rooting for her.
It has both Shada and Luxray, too.
Yup.
Great.
Yeah.
That burn wouldn't work.
Oh god, yeah, it did.
Nice burn.
Now, here is a Pokemon I want to look at the global stats for.
Shada, yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure she has this one locked up.
Oh, yes, that sash. Lovely.
So Shada has been selected in the history of DraftLeague.nl 7 times. How in the fuck did someone go 11-8 with it?
Specs.
Damn.
How the fuck did Automathic go 11-8 with it?
Oh, he did it.
Yeah.
Boy.
Damn, Auto.
Because if it weren't for that, Kaya is the best chat-out battler, except for that.
So we'll just have to see the two Chat-Out Masters battle here in an upcoming event.
Yeah. But yeah, Dino, man, unfortunately we are ending it soon. It's getting pretty late, and we did do 3 hours of this. But if you want to catch it later, we are putting the VOD on YouTube. We're going to start a YouTube channel with this. And the VOD will be available later, too. And we should be back to our normal schedule with battles next Friday. Just, I wanted to get back in the swing of things with something a little less intense with, scheduling battles and getting the codes in. Just to kind of get the rust off. And this has been fun. It seems like everyone's enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not remembering how Kaya won this game. It's not looking good for her.
I don't either. But she did. And she won it, what, frickin' 3-0, I think?
There's Cube. Here we go.
I believe Kevin was the wrecking ball on this.
Yep.
I believe, yeah.
Kevin!
I love how the second that Ginger says, "Don't worry, Kaya, you got this," she immediately starts wrecking.
So she
that
needed.
burn on Klefki did do something, because Klefki gets up a reflect here, none of this happens.
Yeah. Ooh.
Z, that has to be Z Freeze Shock.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yup, this is it. And this is where Luxray became one of her favorite freaking Pokemon. Ginger just, this is it, Kaya!
Also, Kaya has been known to reference the Ruby series in everything. So that's where all these names came from.
Lexi, do you want to see the Burrito Bowl? Because we had the Burrito Bowl this season. It happened. Here it is.
Apathy gets a kill, yeah.
Yep. Come on. Here it is.
And
there it is.
There, wow.
Yeah. There was a... Sorry, go ahead.
It was a good match.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
A lot of things could go one way or another there, though. Burn on Klefki, that was
huge.
That was massive.
Yeah, that was...
That burn doesn't go up. Klefki doesn't go down against the Kyurem Fusion Bolt, and it gets up a reflect, and the whole game's totally different.
Yeah. Also,
good job, Kaya!
Yeah, really. And I also do want to point out here, I'm looking at her overall record. Season 2, she's had, like, significantly better differential this season than last season. So even though the kills, the wins aren't really reflecting it, she's getting significantly better season over season. I'm really sad she can't join us in the war next season. Hey, Miss UFO.
Oh, she's not joining us for the war? That stinks.
No, she's got stuff with her kid and her husband, and it's just a 3-week span, so she's taking it to kind of deal with that. She'll be back for season 4, though.
Yeah, I get it. That's good for her for getting priorities straight.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I think that's a great point to end it. It is 10 o'clock here. I'm going to take a look. Actually, oh, Jesus Christ, man. Right, you're in the UK. Thank you for sticking around.
Party, man.
Dude, points to Carb for sticking around for this. And, hey, before we raid over, Lexi, who are we raiding? Or did you want me to tell you that? But yeah, before we raid over, there we go. We are raiding Aaron the Wolf, a great friend of ours. So definitely, if you're in the chat, stick around for that. She is awesome. But yeah, before we raid over, I just want to give a huge thank you to Chris for all the work he put in for the actual analysis and the prep that went into that, and for sticking around for 3 hours on the stream. I also want to thank Rue and Carbonite for jumping in at the end. The Q&A at the end. This has just been super fun. Thank you. And Locke, thank you so much for that 200-bit cheer to end it. That's a great way to end it.
Oh, yes.
Hey, thank you all for joining us today, hopping in. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to shoot me a PM. Let me know what you thought of the format if you want to see us do that again. YouTube raid Gaming Tremor 84 at a later date. I'm not sure how you raid to YouTube from Twitch, but I'll take a look at that, definitely. But yeah, thank you all. I hope you enjoyed the format. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. We can bring it back. We cannot, depending on what you guys want. It's all about you. So, hey, thank you, everyone, and we will see you. I'll see you hopefully next Friday when I get back to my normal battles. Have a good night, folks. See ya.
Have a good night.
Goodbye.
All right, and we are off air. Hey, thanks again, guys.
Well, that was
Seriously.
fun, guys.
Very fun.
Oh, I need sleep.
Oh my god, yeah, dude.
No
Go to
rest.
bed, Carb. You idiot.
Oh,
I cannot believe you stayed up that fucking late. I forgot you're 5 hours ahead of us.
Oh, Carbonite. Alright, gonna go hopefully watch a movie. See you guys later.
Later, man.
Have a good night.
Night, guys.